Lately, Kohl's has come through for me once again. I just went and used a 25% off coupon to score so many great gifts under $20, like cozy pajamas and fleece, amazing gift sets, and beauty must-haves. So if you're looking to give more for less this season, get to Kohl's. Select styles. Offers end December 24th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Hope you're all enjoying this great classic rock. This is the music to get you going no matter what you need to do. And for the ones who get it done, Grainger offers high-quality supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as access to product specialists who have the knowledge and experience to answer your toughest questions. Plus, their commitment to being your safety partner can help keep your facility safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done while listening to classic rock.
The holidays are a time for reflection on what matters most and the relationships that make life meaningful. At Trajan Wealth, we're proud to be a trusted partner for many of you on your financial journey. Whether you're planning for tomorrow or looking to build a legacy, we believe in doing what's right every time. As a veteran-owned company, I know trust isn't given, it's earned through honesty, integrity, and a commitment to putting our clients' needs first. For those of you who have heard my commercials for years but haven't yet called, know that most of our clients come to us from other financial advisors. Our expert team, who has hearts of teachers, promises not to waste your time. This is more than our duty, this is our passion. So, this holiday season, let us help you unwrap the gift of Trajan Wealth. Call 469-579-3500 or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Brisket in the smoker, Miller Lite in the cooler. Sunday night overtimes, Monday morning swagger. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Meet Cheryl.
Hey.
She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Don't miss the incredible last-minute deals at Target this week. With up to 50% off toys and great savings on clothing, tech, small appliances, floor care, and more, you can still save in the final days of the season. Plus, unlock more savings when you join Target Circle for free and enjoy exclusive deals with just one magical scan. But hurry, before these last-minute deals vanish. Save more on gifts this season. Happier holidays from Target. Restrictions apply.
RJ Choppy here. Real talk time, men. Has it happened to you? You know what I'm talking about. That helpless feeling where you want it to happen and she wants it to happen, but you got a big bag of nothing. BlueChew.com, promo code RJ. First order's free, $5 shipping. That's all you pay. Listen, if you have been suffering from ED, or maybe you just want to go from average to savage in the bedroom, BlueChew.com, promo code RJ. Chewables from Blue Chew. Same active ingredients as those other pills, only in a chewable form at a fraction of the cost, now available in mint flavor. Trust me on this one, guys. You are going to love it. She is going to love it. She is going to turn oh no into oh yes. And that's what's going to happen when you use chewables from Blue Chew. BlueChew.com, promo code RJ. No doctor visit. An online medical provider prescribes it for you. BlueChew.com, promo code RJ. Get your confidence back and your little fella feeling big again.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Go low, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
This Odyssey Sports broadcast is presented by Health Markets. Shop for health insurance your way. 105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present.
Touch.
And obviously, I'm hoping to see Tyler Guyton. Cooper Beebe dealing with the concussion. He's going to be back.
Should be good to go. Yeah,
good to go.
Should be good. Yeah,
that's a heck of a matchup there on the interior.
Yeah, they've got some inside problems. You mentioned Cansey, but Vita Vea and stuff like that. When that big Vita Vea gets right over that nose, and we've seen a little bit with Beebe some of the shotgun snaps when he has to deal with a guy a heavy nose. That sometimes that shotgun snap could get a little high. You mentioned Cooper Rush has had some problems with some fumbled snaps and
9
things.
Fumbles in 7 games. For
that's
that
crazy.
Dude. That's nuts.
But that's something you absolutely need to keep an eye on tonight, because Vita Vea is going to line up on the outside shoulder of Cooper Beebe, and he is going to push that middle of that pocket. He's got 6 sacks. This crew, they've got their sacks kind of spread out among where they've had some problems in the secondary with some of the injuries. They've had to rotate a lot of different guys in this secondary. And, Dallas is no different. Dallas has played with 7 different corners this year themselves, so they're more than understanding about that. But but here we are, But yeah, it's going to be a defense where you got to be very mindful of the middle push, the blitzing linebackers, and blitzing secondary. Todd Bowles that's his calling card. And that's how he's going to have to get around some of the things that Dallas might try and do to him tonight.
Well, who do you see getting loose for the Cowboys offensively tonight? This is another big opportunity for Rico Dowdle to show that he's a workhorse.
Yeah, and where teams have had some success running the football has kind of been on that edge. Teams stay away from Vita Vea and that tackle group.
Well, that's not good because Rico likes to hit it right there.
That's the problem, though. But Rico Dowdle is one of those guys that can, you'd like to. Last week you saw what they were able to do with Turpin getting on the edge, and that was because you got guys like, Hoffman and Bass and then also
Steele.
Ferguson, Steele, those guys, and Schoonmaker. They did a really nice job of securing the edge, and they did it a couple different ways. One time they pull Bass, and he's out in space. Next time they just zone block that thing, push everybody. So that's the plan today. If you can find a way to kind of get that ball out on the edge, but Rico Dowdle, his bread and butter is running that ball between the tackles. That's going to be a challenge tonight.
What about CeeDee Lamb? He got a good matchup. We moving him around. Who are we targeting? Who are we going to embarrass tonight in the back end?
Yeah, I think that you're going to have to find a way to kind of move him around a little bit. And one of the things that CeeDee Lamb has had some success doing is when you do move him around, the yards per reception has been up. I mean, they've moved him around much more here lately, and I think that's benefited for him because that just gives him an opportunity not to be stationary and not to have to run routes with somebody. Now, last week you got a team that with the Carolina Panthers that gave you a lot of cushion. Buccaneers are really, really the same way when it comes to the amount of cushion that they're going to give. Where I'm going to take advantage. I think that when Lamb gets in the slot, keep an eye on Tyke Smith. He's a rookie, and teams have kind of picked on him a little bit. He's had some games where he's been pretty good, but this group right here, though, when you look at the Zion McCollum, he's been a guy that people have really, really picked on a little bit. But like I said, a lot of this was because of their injuries. They had some problems with some guys that they've had to deal with here, and they've been able to do it. But keep an eye on Tyke Smith, number 23, the nickel. If you could get Lamb in that slot and match him up, that might be a good one for you to take advantage of.
Okay, all right, I like that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people right now are at the height of postseason stakes in fantasy. And so a lot of people are looking at CeeDee Lamb. Hey, let's put the team on the back here, and let's go try and let's go get a couple of victories across this great country here with the folks that are doing the fantasy football stuff. But CeeDee Lamb's been, one of the true bright spots this season.
Well,
with the way, I just love that him and Micah. The season has obviously not gone the way they want, and they're not getting pouty about it and sulking and my shoulder hurts. I got paid. I don't need to play. They're coming out and showing out, and I really respect it.
Well, and you're going to get a lot of single high coverage. This team plays a lot of zone and that single high out of that zone. And when you talk about single high, that's when Dak Prescott and Ferguson were at their best, with their ability to take advantage of the seams. With no Dak Prescott, we really haven't seen Ferguson have the type of games where Ferguson, Schoonmaker have been effective, or the boots, the waggles, the motions, where they create direction one way and then bring the ball back the other. Let's see tonight if they can get a little bit more involved with some of those seam routes and up the field routes, with that ability to hit those guys in some space.
All right, we're just getting started here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Sunday night football here at AT&T Stadium. Just over 3 hours to kick off. Let's hear from Chauncey Golston, a young man who's playing really, really well in that defensive line in a contract year. I wonder what the market's going to be for a guy like that. We'll have him in the player profile, and we'll catch up with NBC Sports' Jack Collinsworth next right here on The Fan.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center.
For business evaluation today, call 888-GO-ARROW or visit arrowexterminators.com.
All right, we're 3 hours to kick off here at AT&T Stadium, getting you set for Sunday Night Football, Cowboys and the Bucs. We will catch up with NBC's Jack Collinsworth coming up here in just a few minutes live from the turf here at AT&T Stadium. But right now it's time for today's player profile. Here's the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold standing by with Cowboys defensive lineman Chauncey Golston.
Chauncey Golston, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. You guys taking on Tampa Bay tonight. This team, on the Tampa Bay Bucs, they are kind of a dangerous team. What's the most dangerous part about their offense? Is it the quarterback, Baker Mayfield, who CeeDee Lamb said he swear to God by him with the OU? Or is it their running game or their wide receivers? Or is it their offensive line?
It's more of a combination between Baker and the running backs. Like Baker, like teams have him in situations where if you pause the film, you're like, oh yeah, there's no way like that he's sacked, and then you look up and he's completing the ball, and then you also have the two backs that can make everybody miss. So it's a combination of that.
And so what's your job going to be? Stop the run or check the quarterback?
Both. You stop the run, and then you earn the right to rush. And then once you earn the right to rush, complete the rush by taking them to the ground,
You know what? Everybody's believing in the defense because it seemed like Mike is back. Everybody's understanding what Zim want to do. Everybody love DQ, but it's like Zim got a different style, and y'all showed out with the sacks and the pressures and the whole 9 yards. Can you talk about Micah's return and Zim and everybody being on the same page?
Yeah, with Micah coming back, that opens up the playbook a little bit more, and we see a little more like exotic stuff and more things where he's like featured, so that's always a good thing. And then us just coming alive and really buying into the defense and knowing more of the nuances of how Zim thinks and how he really wants us to run things. So with that and with time, we've really come into like ourselves.
And it seems like y'all get more takeaways, which was a staple of DQ's defense. So is it like y'all's comfort level with Zim, or is it just the way things are happening?
Yeah, so it's one of those comfort level in the defense. Like knowing you're able to play more off of like other guys because you know exactly what the person next to you has to do. So like if he zig, I can zag. One of those type things.
Since it's a Sunday night game at home, what's your routine on that Sunday? You gonna listen to some music, chill out, or you gonna? What's your routine going into the game?
I'm a big music guy, but I don't really like.
Who you like? Or on a game day?
On game day,
you gotta get fired up. You gotta get laid back.
It's like before I'm more mellow music, more mellow. Then once it's like I get to the stadium, I gotta activate that game day playlist, and then it's more hype songs. And, really having to dial in as the time gets closer.
All right, good luck tonight, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
All right, thank you, CA, and thank you, Chauncey Golston. That dude's been playing some really, really good football right now. I mean, you can say that about a couple of these guys along the defensive line. Osa's having a really big year. Carl Lawson's done a nice job. But Chauncey Golston, he's an interesting dude that they drafted, obviously, a few years ago, and they've moved him around a little bit.
That's
Is he
the
an
problem.
interior player? Is
That's
he an edge
the problem.
player?
Yeah.
And where is he flourishing this year?
Yeah, he's playing out there on the outside, and it's almost like when you look at, remember Tyron Crawford and how they played him at edge, and then they played him at 3 technique. Rod Marinelli said, he'd be a 3, and then he got really banged up. He got hurt, couldn't stay. This is sometimes the things that you run into is that you're trying to kind of figure out a spot for a player, and you don't figure it out, but whoa, wait a minute, you have some injuries, and then you start to play the guy, and like all along you're thinking, well, he should have been an edge. And listen, up until this year, we were at training camp watching him play defensive tackle, and then finally the injuries made him have to play the edge, and that's his natural position. And when you watched him play at Iowa, he was really good. I felt like that he was kind of the poor man's when you look for poor man's Tank Lawrence, when you watched him play at Iowa, the ball wasn't going to get to the edge. He wasn't always going to be a great pass rusher, but he was going to play the run. He was going to play the run, very, very well.
Yeah, and now, I remember it was after his rookie year. He said that Dan Quinn came up to him and was like, hey, let's go ahead and let's pack on a little bit more pounds here because we want to put you in the interior a little bit.
Yeah, and
And then it's just kind of been a back and forth. And he does have that body type where you can imagine in certain situations kicking him inside, but he's definitely not an every down 3 technique.
No, and that's the thing about it. Sometimes you have these coaching staffs and they have vision for the players, but I know my personal experience watching him play at Iowa, he did a great job of always keeping his outside arm free and then forcing everything to go back to the inside.
Now, what do you think happens with him in terms of off-season? He's a free agent. You have a couple of guys now, especially defensively. It's Chauncey Golston, it's Osa, Jordan Lewis. Those are the 3 guys
all
that
good
really
tape.
come to mind.
All good tape.
Eric Kendricks as well. But
all good tape. That's the problem that you run into. You know, you're going to have a season where it's not going to be like you thought it was going to be. You had to play a lot of guys as role players that were role players now as the starters, and then pro departments are going to watch the tape and they're thinking, well, man, Chauncey Golston is better than our edge guy. Jordan Lewis I guarantee you Jordan Lewis is better than the nickel corner, what's going on with the Commanders right now. You know, I mean, these guys are playing themselves. We talked about it with Stephen Jones on Friday, you know, with the whole thing of about he's getting value for players. He's paying guys $1.1 million to $1.2 million. He's paying guys this money, but he's getting $14, $15, $16 million worth of value for the players that they're playing at that kind of level for him right now. So, yeah, it's going to be a very, very tough situation to sign all these guys.
How would you try and approach it? Obviously, you factor in the money and all that stuff, but if you could just sort of money aside, who would be the guy that you would be banging the table for? Like, man, we got to have this guy back, because you could make the case for Lewis or Osa or Kendricks.
Okay,
let me not so much Golston.
Let me flip the tables on you then a little bit here, though. Is this the first year you really feel like you got the absolute best from Osa?
This is the first year, yes, that he's really put it all together. Yeah,
because
there's been
times where we get to week 14 and he's played so hard for 14 weeks that he just completely wears down and you don't see the production that you've had before. I think the one guy that's played really consistent throughout has been Jordan Lewis.
For sure.
Jordan, even when things were bad early in week 2, 3, 4, when those games were going up, he was one of the guys you could actually say, okay, you even look at the metrics, the nickel play that they had from him was incredible. And then he's shown that I haven't seen Jordan Lewis play on the outside. And I might be even in this game talk about, Izzy McQuamu, maybe instead of starting like AO, start Izzy on the outside, have Lewis on the inside, and and have to deal with Mike Evans that way. That way that gives you Bland, Lewis, and Izzy, to play, and then you could kind of flip Lewis on the outside some too, mix things up, put Izzy inside inside on some of the slot corner stuff. But I don't know. They'll probably play AO in this game in a way, but I think Jordan Lewis has been outstanding. I think all 3 of them have been outstanding for you. If I had to power rank them, I would probably go Lewis, Osa, and then Golston.
Yeah, I think Osa is the guy that I have circled for the one that I'm most interested. If you had to boil it down to one player the rest of the way, it's Osa for me, because you now have 3 quality opponents that you're about to go up against, especially this week and next week. These offensive lines between the Bucs and the Eagles,
you'll
some of the best in the sport.
See. Yeah.
I've seen Osa really dominate the Panthers and the Giants and some of these Bengals. I want to see it versus some quality opponents, because that's a guy who's probably going to get a pretty lengthy, big-time deal, because there's not a ton of those guys that are floating around there.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Cowboys will want to match whatever that is, but right now I look at Osa as a guy, yes, you can dominate some poor opponents. Can you put it all together and have big impact in a game like tonight, in a game like next week versus the Eagles? He's the guy that I have circled that I'm most interested for the next few weeks, I think.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right to where this thing could potentially go for him. But the one thing that I've learned about, in studying so far this NFL draft, there's going to be an opportunity when you're looking at like these one technique guys where Dallas potentially is picking. Say they don't win these games. You're going to be somewhere in that, maybe that 12, 13 kind of area, maybe a little bit higher. I'd love to see Osa Odighizuwa. We've seen a little bit better from Mozzie Smith, but there's some really quality one techniques in this draft. We'll see about the threes, but it would be nice to really see Osa paired next to a guy that really, that could, I know they're probably out of the reach for a guy like Mason Graham from Michigan, But Kenneth Grant, there's some one technique guys, like I said, that I'd love to see Osa be able to be paired to next. Kind of like the hope that I was hoping with him being paired with Mozzie. And we've seen with Mozzie playing a little bit better, that's kind of helped Osa as well.
Huge test for Osa and Mozzie tonight, and all those alike there, because this rushing attack for the Bucs, I mean, between Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, a 1-2 punch that is really, really getting rolling right now.
Yeah, they are. It's going to be a very, very difficult matchup. And the one thing Dallas has been able to do, though, is they've found a way to, against running back one, they've figured some things out of having to play some really good run defense. Now, the problem that you face tonight is this quarterback with Baker Mayfield, he's going to throw the ball into the flat, and you got two backs with Irving and White that both catch the football well. We remember what happened in the Cincinnati game. It wasn't the rushing attack for Cincinnati that killed you. It was the ball that went to the running back. So
Chase Brown out of the backfield.
So this is one of those things where you need to be, on the screws. We'll see what happens with Maris Leofau today. How much will he be a factor when that ball goes to the flat? Baker Mayfield's going to throw it that direction. Can they get over and rally and not let these backs break tackles and then have run after catch? Because both these backs are quality when it comes to catching the football.
Well, how do the Bucs like to deploy these guys? Is it split carries? Is White the more physical back? Bucky a little bit more?
I think it's Bucky. Yeah, I think it's Bucky's a little bit more of that guy that
the lightning to the thunder.
Exactly.
White.
Yeah, it's White. Like I said, to me, I worry more about Irving because shorter guy in between the tackles can bounce it to the outside. He's a guy that kind of gets behind this offensive line, and then all of a sudden he ends up on the other side of it, though. So they are both really, really good. And I mentioned this just because I put this in my notes. When you talk about throwing the ball with White, he's recorded the fourth most yards after catch than anybody in this league, the fourth most, and then Bucky Irving is sixth most. So you're talking about 10.7 and 10.6 with these running backs throwing them the football.
Because it's not necessarily always last resort check down. They got designed stuff to the backs, and then they got the blockers.
The ball will go to the flat with this guy. He likes to throw it underneath and throw it to the flat, the side. It's just easier throws for him. That's just the way that Baker Mayfield, the way that he operates. So you got to that's something that's going to be a challenge for the Dallas defense today.
And Baker will turn the ball over a little bit. He'll throw you some interceptions.
Sure will.
But he's been really, really impressive. And they've had to do it without Mike Evans a lot this year, without Chris Godwin for most of the year, and Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, is getting a lot of love right now. What do you see, Liam Cohen, this offense? How much are you impressed with his styles, his philosophies, his nuances?
It's what it is. It's a physical front. They've been really fortunate this year because they've had the same offensive line playing together. There's a lot of teams that have had to deal with various, look at the Dallas Cowboys and and finally they get some stability, and what do? They find a way to run the football a lot better. But this Bucs offensive line has been able to play quite a bit better. And, Graham Barton, the rookie center, has really done a nice job. They're a physical group up front.
You guys like Barton a lot. I know Walchuk was in love with him. You liked him a lot.
Absolutely.
And he's playing their whole rookie class. Yeah. I mean, from Barton to Irving to McMillan outside as a wide receiver. I mean, get it done.
Cody Mack has missed 4 snaps this year. He's the right guard, and Ben Betterson as the left guard. He's missed 5 snaps. These guys, they play. They just play together. And they're tough because they got a quarterback that's not going to hold the football. He's going to get rid of the ball. Like I say, it's going to be short. There's going to be some times where it's short. He's a 71% passer. I mean, you don't do that just chucking the ball down the field. When you can control the game that way, and this is where Baker Mayfield does a great job of it. And then all of a sudden, then it's the shot down the field to Evans, and then there's your big play. So you just kind of lull you to sleep, and then the next thing you know, here comes the big play out of the back, from their offense.
They thrive on play action.
Yeah, that's something you're gonna have to deal with quite a bit in this game because they run the ball so well.
Right.
That's something, and Cohen, we always kind of talk because he's from that Rams system. So you're going to get the motions, you're going to get the things that they but you're going to get. It's very, very. They understand how their quarterback needs to play, and that's kind of just bleeding you throwing the ball underneath.
Well, what's your evaluation of Baker these days? Do you feel like he's playing the best of his career?
Oh, yeah. He absolutely is. I mean, you look at the games that they've had some tough losses. This team beat Philly,
And Detroit.
And Detroit. Yeah, they went to Detroit and did a great job in that game.
And they smacked the Chargers last week.
Yeah, they really, really did. So, yeah, he's playing well. Everybody wants to throw dirt on him, but he's finally in a system where where he's playing in a way that he's comfortable playing. It's not horsing the ball down the field. I mean, he'll run around, he'll move around. You got to get him sometimes. Some of the sacks that we saw were him trying to spin and he gets tripped up, and that's but you got to get the pressure on him quick. You can't let him just extend the play and then but a lot of that time it's going to be catch that snap, get rid of the football. That's what you're going to see. It's going to be very frustrating that way.
Well, they don't have Cade Otton today.
That helps.
Tight end. That's huge because I don't think they have a single pass-catching threat at the tight end position outside of him.
Yeah.
Like, they got nobody there. They got blocking tight ends.
Yep.
Nobody to really scare you. So that's an advantage, obviously, for the Cowboys tonight. You have Mike Evans. Is that a guy where, other than the backs, no one really threatens you enough to be like, hey, we're just going to double Mike Evans, and if the rookie McMillan's going to get off, then so be it?
Yeah, I think to me it's Evans is the one you have to worry about the most for sure. And they've got, you mentioned McMillan, but 5 of Baker Mayfield's interceptions this year have gone to Jalen McMillan. So there's been some things that some problems. Some of his targets.
It's been a late surge from McMillan.
No, he's playing better, but there was times when he was early in the campaign where he was throwing the football. Baker Mayfield was throwing the ball his direction, and it was getting picked off.
All right, we're live at AT&T Stadium, and it's time to welcome in our next guest.
Riley Leonard and the Irish from their own 2. Jeremiah Love breaks free. Jeremiah Love trying to go 98. Touchdown! What a run! In the first touchdown of the 12-team playoff.
And with that, the first win of the 12-team playoff as well for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 27-17 Friday night over the Hoosiers. They advance to a New Year's night matchup versus the Georgia Bulldogs, and we welcome in a Notre Dame alum and one of the more versatile voices in all of broadcasting. You can find him in the booth. You can find him in the studio like you will tonight for NBC's Football Night in America. It's Jack Collinsworth, ladies and gentlemen. Jack, thanks so much for the time, man. Congrats on the win. I'm sure you were fired up on Friday night.
Man, what a kind introduction, gentlemen. I appreciate that off the top. But yeah, this team Marcus Freeman has built is it's pretty special. And he's enhanced really everything that program does. And speed is what I noticed. He brought speed to Notre Dame football. I think they could beat any of these teams that remain. I really do.
Yeah, I was wondering what's the confidence meter versus the Bulldogs. No Carson Beck, so they're dealing with a backup quarterback situation. And obviously the Bulldogs, I mean, nobody's been like super Teflon, oh my gosh, this is clearly the number one. The Ducks have been awesome, but Georgia's definitely beatable.
Well, I think the thing is that it's just going to be a fist fight of a game. And that's the kind of game right now that Notre Dame welcomes, wants, looks for. They want to run their quarterback. They want to give Love the football, who I think is one of the most dynamic players. I mean, we were up there a couple of years ago when he would just gotten to campus and guys would come. And, there was upperclassmen that were stars on the team, but all these NFL scouts wanted to know about Jeremiah Love. And they say, who is this guy that just got here at 18 or 17, 18 years old? He had already captured the attention of the NFL. I think he'll be a no doubt our first round pick very soon.
I love it. Well, we got some studs on the field tonight at AT&T Stadium. This Bucs rookie class is really showing out. Cowboys obviously have a lot of young guys as well with the type of season that they're having, and they've been eliminated from postseason contention here today thanks to what the Commanders did. But what's at the top of your mind as you're looking at this matchup with Baker Mayfield and company coming to town?
It's funny because I work with Jason Garrett. Obviously, we got Jason on Football in America tonight, too. And so I got a lot of good insight into Cooper Rush and Cooper Rush and how he just kept making his way onto the Cowboys roster. And, he's one of those players that every year you bring in somebody that the next hot shot, this could be our quarterback of the future. And you're always trying to look for that next backup guy that you bring in that could eventually become a starter. And Cooper Rush would just beat him out. You know, you'd put in that hot shot, and he'd throw an interception. You'd put Cooper Rush back in, and he would take the second-team offense straight down the field at all these training camps and practices and everything in between. So to see him get his opportunity with Dallas, you know, later parts of this year, to me has been really cool. Look at his last 4 games, 8 touchdowns, only 1 interception. I mean, he's given this season some buoyancy when for a while it looked like it was bleak on all fronts.
Jack, when you're getting ready for these games and stuff, and you sat down, you looked at the Cowboys a little bit. Micah Parsons, you know, the post-injury looks like that. You know, he's played at a very, very high level. You see a lot of games. Where is he on your radar when it comes to defensive players in this league?
I would say one of the best. And honestly, getting ready for this game, coming from Kansas City, we were in Kansas City yesterday for that game against the Texans. Just looking at his stuff, I mean, leads the NFL in sacks and pressures, which might even be a better metric when you're looking at that position since he got back from that injury of his. And so, yeah, he's one of the best, I think, is the easiest way to put it. And I'd probably put, you know, Garrett with Cleveland, Watt with Pittsburgh, and Micah with Dallas. I mean, those would be my big 3 at that, you know, edge rusher getting after the quarterback position, which is so coveted in this league.
NBC's Jack Collinsworth with us here on The Fan. Baker Mayfield coming to town. He's playing some good football. These Bucs are playing pretty good right now. What are you seeing from them, Jack? Do you feel like, are they a team that could make some noise in the postseason?
I think you have to say that they can. We've seen them hang in there with the Lions. We've seen them hang in there with Philly and win those games. And so how many teams can go beat the top of the NFC? And Baker's just got this fearless gunslinger, old school Brett Favre type mentality to him where you put him anywhere, you put him on this field. I know he's 3-0 on this field already. You look at high school, college, and then he won here with Cleveland already. There's just a fearless element to the way he plays, and some of the passes he releases, you pause the film and you look and you go, what window is he seeing? Mm-hmm. And then somehow he fits it in for a completion. And so will he throw interceptions? Yeah. Has he thrown interceptions? Yeah. But he always gives you a chance to win. And then you walk the field and you talk to his teammates and how much they love and respect that dog nature that exists within him. I think quarterbacks like that just give you an opportunity to win every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, you name it.
Yeah, you know, very fortunate tonight. We see the matchup with Mike Evans and CeeDee Lamb. What do you like about Mike Evans' game?
Probably one of the most underappreciated receivers in football is what I would say about him. And he's been doing it for so long down there with the Bucs. I was really glad that they gave him a new contract and kept him around. Sometimes you get a little later in your career and you wind up somewhere else. But it was important to Baker that he was there. They got him there. I just think it's the size and the strength and the competitive nature that he has. And he's such a tremendous red zone target, but you think you have him covered, and he just out-physicals you for footballs, and he's a tremendous route runner too. So I think he's one of those receivers, you look back at the last decade, that never got really the shine that he deserves, and I know he got a little glimpse of that when Tom Brady came to town, but he has been that good for a long, long time.
Jack, you get a fantasy draft tonight. You get to pick any running back in this game to have a big one. Bucky Irvin, you got Rashad White, or our very own Rico Dowdle. Who you going with tonight?
It's funny. I probably would go Rico. Give me Rico, and the way that he's been playing this season has been really fun for me to watch, just because you're going to split up those touches between the two guys on the Bucs. But Rico's been awesome, and at some point, Dallas has to look good in front of their home crowd. I mean, you look at this home record this year, and they have one win, and it just feels like it has to happen at some point. And I know that Tampa's good, but I expect this to be one of Dallas's best performances this year. If McCarthy wants to keep this job and come back and bring some of these assistants and coordinators back with them, they got to finish this season off strong. I think they will know that. I think the players will know that, and we'll see if they can do it, but it'll go through Rico. You know it will.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jack, I like what you're saying there. Also, I'm seeing that big monster in the middle for Tampa, Vita Vea there, and yeah, you know, and having with Cooper Beebe having to maybe those 3 inside guys having to handle him. When you watch him play, he makes things so difficult for teams to run the football.
He does. I mean, anytime you have those monsters that have the hands like Vita Vea has and the athleticism that he has. It's a treat to watch for people who love football. The dancing bear element where it's, you think you have him blocked at the last second, he pushes you out of the way and he's making the tackle. He's one of those guys that not only clogs the holes but has the ability to make the play when it comes his direction. Is a big reason why they've won 4 straight, first in the South at this point. They control the path to that South, but the room for error there is getting pretty tight because with that win from Washington, you pretty much have to win this division. In all likelihood, you want to make the postseason, you need to win this division. I think that's what makes this game tonight so big.
Well, Jack, you're a beast, man. We appreciate the time. It's been a real treat. As always, enjoy the game, and, of course, good luck to your Irish.
Hey, always fun catching up with you guys. Appreciate you having me on. Enjoy the game.
Thank you, man. Likewise, there he goes, NBC's Jack Collinsworth. He'll be on the pregame show, Football Night in America, leading you up to kickoff here Sunday Night Football with the Bucs in town. We're live at AT&T Stadium, and we're just over 2.5 hours to kickoff. Let's go inside the Star with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt. See how hungover he is. There was a Sharif birthday situation last night, and we'll see just how Bobby's feeling, and we'll get the 411 on these Cowboys next right here on The Fan.
Is your workplace on top of its game? For over 100 years, Pollock Aurora has been taking care of business, improving their bottom lines, and helping them grow with proven results that work. And this year is no exception. Keeping the workplace clean.
for everyone on your list. Go and get your cast iron skillets at Yeti.com or a Yeti store near you.
All right, we're live here at AT&T Stadium getting you set for Sunday night football, under 2.5 hours to kick off. How about we go inside the star with our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, who is alleging that he didn't have a drop of booze yesterday.
Well,
not a drop,
I
Bob?
had a drop because it was they were all doing it was like one of the spots we're at was like
Did
around
7 shots in a row is what he did.
No, it was around the birthday shots for the birthday girl. And so it was like there was one, they're like, you can't. This is the birthday drink. You have to have it. The owner sent it over here. I was like, all right, fine.
Fireball?
So no, it was an espresso martini shot or something.
Dude.
I'd never had it. It tasted good.
It's really good.
But otherwise, I was good. This was not an Oxnard situation with Bryan taunting me and saying, you're too soft. And then I go, what? You know what? None of these are for you guys. I'm taking all 4 of them at once right now. And so it's not that.
You're an animal. I am happy to
more ways than one.
I'm happy to see the way you're carrying yourself today after the postseason elimination discovery for the Cowboys just a couple of hours ago. You're keeping your emotions in check. I appreciate what you're doing here.
Yeah, I feel like we discovered that about week 10. But yeah, officially, sure.
I think it might have been week 2 when Derek Carr was carving you up.
Yeah.
No, look, this is where it was heading the whole way. I mean, everybody knew that, like, mathematically, we're talking about something that was unlikely to be achieved. Like, when Jerry's even entertaining the question a couple weeks ago of, obviously, y'all are still in it, but mathematically, things aren't totally on your side. So outside of playoffs, what do you want to see the rest of the week? When he's not even pushing back against that and answering, like, that told you where things were at. But no, it's a disappointing reality confirmed that I think everybody's been dealing with since, I don't know, probably out of the bye when you lose to San Francisco and you're like, all right, this is where we're at. And so I think that it's just obviously confirmation of what you feel like you already knew, which is this was a disappointing end to a season, and they didn't really start finding their groove in a couple different areas like defense and the run game and things like that until it was far too late.
Bobby, the focus, we still have 3 weeks left here, but and you and I have already started working on the draft to kind of get a little jump on that. But I want to ask you, because Eric asked me about the young guys that are playing, of the Rico Daddles and the Brock Hoffmans and the T.J. Bass and and Jordan Lewis, those guys that are those types of guys. How do you see those guys overall? How did their depth hold up? It maybe didn't translate into a lot of wins, but how did their depth hold up overall?
It's hard to say, obviously, because in some areas you felt like, wow, the depth ended up being better than your starters. Zach Martin had a bad year.
Yeah.
Zach Martin was not as good as the guys who have had to step in and play right guard for him this year. So in that sense, it's like, well, that was good. And then in other senses, it's like you lost Brandon Cooks, and Jalen Tolbert didn't do really a thing to step up and show you he could be that guy.
He'll always have that night in Pittsburgh.
Look, it was great. You loved seeing what he did in Pittsburgh. That was an incredibly tough catch he made on 4th down at the goal line.
Yeah.
I give him a ton of credit for that. I'm very disappointed that we're still dealing with some of the issues we were dealing with in Green Bay a couple of years ago when he was a rookie and couldn't line up correctly. And disappointed that he can't finish catches, and disappointed that he lost that swagger and that dog that was on tape at South Alabama.
Yeah.
So there's areas where it's held up really nicely, and then other areas where it's like, well, that hasn't gone exactly the way you wanted. I think that overall the offensive line depth is what's been most impressive, if you want to talk about where the depth has been. Where you've been disappointed in it, probably receivers one. I think you thought like you were going to be able to weather the Deron Bland stuff better than you did because Kalen Carson wasn't as good as you thought.
Yeah, that was a big issue for me.
So I think corner depth, receiver depth, those were not as positive as you thought. The defensive end depth, the guys behind you stepped up. The defensive line guys behind you stepped up. And guys started playing better that were supposed to start all along, like Mozzie Smith. Oso Digizua kind of reversed his season from what he's done in the past, which is strong start, plays so hard and so intense, he's almost fatigued by the last 6 games of the season, and flipped around this year. With the first few weeks of the season, you're like, what's Osa giving me right now? And now it's since like the last 7 weeks, he leads the NFL in quarterback hits, not just defensive tackles, everybody. So he's got one more than Myles Garrett heading into this week. And
do it versus a quality offensive line tonight. Do it next week versus the Eagles. That's what I want to see from Osa because he's about to get the bag from somebody.
Fair enough. I'll say this. I don't think Carolina's a bad offensive line. I don't think that Cincinnati necessarily has bad offensive line play. I think he has performed well against some decent offensive lines. And yeah, is it the greatest group? No, but when you show me over 7 weeks instead of just one, it's easier for me to say, yeah, you did it against this one bad offensive line. We did it over 7 weeks. It's like, you know what, there are a lot of other players who, over the course of that 7 weeks, played those same offensive lines, and they didn't perform as well as you. So you're still performing high. But I think, yeah, this is overall, I think the depth proved the initial intended depth, I think, was not as good as they thought. I think the depth behind the depth, the third-string guys a lot of times were the ones who stepped up, and they were surprised by in a lot of ways.
Challenges for Maris Leofau tonight?
I mean, challenges in general for the second level because you've got a team that has 2 really good running backs and has a creative way of running the ball, and you've got a team that or a quarterback that loves to throw the ball into the flat and throw some of these swing passes. So in that sense, you're going to have to make a lot of plays in space, and you're going to deal with physical runners and guys who, like I said, an offensive line that can get up to the second level and get blocks on you. So I've really been impressed with Maris Leofau overall. The way that he's played this season. Their run defense has been significantly better with him on the field than when he's off of it. And he stepped up really well for DeMarvion Overshown in a quarter and a half or a game and a half or whatever he's had to play.
I'm always amazed of him when he's on the field, how he's around the football. You know, whether it's a tackle or and not just the punching the ball out thing that we saw in Carolina, but just how when the ball is on the deck, he's there. He's usually like he's right there recovering. I mean, he had the half sack.
Instincts are there for sure.
Yeah,
the instincts are there.
Yeah, and they really talked about him when you and I worked the draft. When we were like, well, they should have maybe taken it, but to a man, they were super happy with that pick.
It was very similar to the way they talked about. I was not a fan initially of the Overshown pick.
Yeah.
When they came in there and talked about it, and Mitch LaPointe told us, boy, Overshown might be my favorite player that we've picked. It's like, okay, they're more excited about this, so I should get more excited because they've generally been right. Same sort of thing. When Leofau came in there, regardless of anybody's concerns with it or questions, I remember we were talking to one of their national scouts. We asked Ross Winchue. We said, what's your favorite trait you scouted? Regardless of a Cowboy or anybody else in the draft, what is your favorite trait that you've scouted in the draft this year? And he said it was Maris Leofau's play style. The intensity that he plays with, the hustle,
they love
the way he attacks. And one of the things they love, and it shows up, I think, right now, he was asked to play so many different spots at Notre Dame. Like when he was asked to rush, there were times he'd line up in the nickel in weird spots he's played. I think he played safety in high school, which is similar, again, to Overshown, a guy who played a bunch of different spots. A couple of years ago, coming out of Baylor, that's what everybody loved about Jalen Petrie. Petrie was a guy who played everything throughout his high school career, so people were like, smart. He understands everything. And I think that's what you've seen with Overshown and now on to Leofau, where Leofau's played so many different areas throughout his career that he's got a pretty good understanding of everything and good sense and good instincts no matter what he's being asked to do.
All right, we got to let you out of here, but are you expecting to see Tyler Guyton tonight?
I don't know. I mean,
I was the same way. I just, and
it's a bummer, man.
And
if
Eric's
he's healthy, like
Eric's coming over the table at me, and I understand because these coaches are still trying to win.
They are still trying to win. Here's the other thing is that
Udoka gives you an extra 0.5% chance of winning a game compared to Guyton.
But to them, that's a 0.5 and not a negative.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll ask it to you like this then, Eric. Are you more concerned about figuring out what Guyton can be, or are you more concerned about figuring out what somebody, other people on the offensive line can be, what Dowdle can continue to give you, what you can get out of, receivers as you're heading? Like, are you more concerned about, well, I feel like Udoka gives me something more solid than Guyton, that I get answers about 4 other players as opposed to just Guyton?
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair way to look at it. I still don't think that Guyton on the field or Udoka instead of Guyton just opens up everything for everyone. I think Guyton just had some mental errors, but this is the time where you got to develop this guy.
True. So. I'll say this: we may see Guyton more tonight than we see Peyton tomorrow. So
okay, all right, there he goes, Bobby Belt lashing out in a way that only he can. We love you.
Love you all.
There he goes. All right, hey, the creators of Buffalo Casino Games bring you Cowboys-themed casino games. Kick off with America's team on and off the reels with Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. All right, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
Under 2 hours and 20 minutes to kick off Sunday night football. Cowboys and Bucs. Let's hear from Mike Tirico next right here on The Fan.
Bell Nunley has been committed to serving their clients for over 4 decades.
Milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Tyson Foods. Get your Tyson Cowboys Star Nuggets. Available now. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
All right, it's a week 16 Sunday night football party here at AT&T Stadium, and we're fired up, man. I know the Cowboys have been eliminated from postseason contention, but these next 3 games are big. The Bucs are on a roll right now, and this is huge for the Bucs. I think it's like if they lose the game, 51% playoff probability. If they win, it goes up to like 87%. So this is a huge game for the Bucs, and it'll be a big challenge, a fun challenge for the Cowboys tonight. We are just over 2 hours to kick off, and it's an NBC game, of course. So Mike Tirico joined the morning show this week, Sean and RJ, and had a great conversation. And we'll hear a little bit what Tirico has to say. And Mike, how do you view McCarthy's status where it stands right now?
I see a very positive in how the team has played here down the stretch. Yes, the competition has not been as good as the competition earlier in the season, but with a number 2 quarterback, we see teams just fall off the map, and that has not happened twice now here with Mike. So I look at that. I look at a guy who is tied for I think 13th now in wins in the NFL. The guy knows how to win. He's produced winners. He produces a good program. Where the questions were this year is why was the defense so bad early on? Was it once you lost Micah in there that changed a lot of things? Now when he comes back, you see a lot of positives. A defense that's statistically really good here in the stretches, especially the number of sacks since Mike has come back. Missing DeMarcus Lawrence, the guys who changed over. So I think what you really have to assess, what I would assess, is how much of that slow start on defense, injury related, yes, also personnel getting adjusted to Zimmer. Yeah. Compared to what they had with DQ. A lot of that goes into it. I think in the overall, you have to look at this. What's the market? Who's out there? Are you upgrading a head coach, or are you resetting and restarting the wheel? Does this group deserve one more shot after one bad year? That's the question that only Jerry and Steve and everybody else can answer. I like Mike McCarthy as the head coach of my football team. I always have. I thought they were always well prepared. I thought you had the best chance to win football games. And if it was up to me, given the extenuating circumstances of losing key players during the season, I'd keep it going. I do think there's a bigger issue. And the bigger issue is having 3, assuming Micah resigns, having 3 big-ticket players in the salary cap. Yep. That limits the amount of talent you can have on the rest of a football team. That's the thing that concerns me. And guys, I'm sorry to belabor this, that might lead you to keep in Mike, because Mike has dealt with that in Green Bay. Green Bay was a draft and developed, not a lot of free agent teams, and those teams played well. That might be a tipping point to keep Mike if you know that we're going to be paying Dak, CD, and Micah in the top 1, 2, or 3 at their position as we go into the next couple of years.
All right, now, Broaddus, a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's been a few weeks now, maybe about a month, you put it at a 0% chance McCarthy is back. Are you still holding firm there? Do you feel like with the way they've played, the doors started to open up a little bit?
I want to still believe that they're probably going to move on from the guy. That's just me personally. There was the expectations were very high. Now, you go out there and lose all 3 of these games, then we're going to see, my predictions right. I'm going to stand on this one. They'll also tell me, they'll go, okay, well, if Mike McCarthy was going to get an extension, we would have heard about it by now. We would have heard Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones. The things that they're talking about are positive about him, but why not go ahead and get it done? Why not, why have we not heard? Why haven't one of the national media sites or guys or gals said, hearing that Mike McCarthy is working on an extension now? And then, it's been very, 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 very quiet on that front, maybe to the point of no conversation at all. So they're clearly evaluating where they're at the end. I just personally feel like, though, that, sure, bring Mike McCarthy back, fine, but I'm going to ask him not to be the primary play caller. Now Mike McCarthy might just say, I want to be the primary play caller. If that's the case, then I'm for sure moving on for him. I think Mike McCarthy does a fine job of getting your team to Sunday. It's no smoke and mirrors that he can win games on short weeks. He's proven that. He's very mindful of the situation with his team's health, all that. But let's be honest too. These guys are playing hard for themselves. Like Brock Hoffman is not an established NFL player. Brock Hoffman is a $927,000 a year player. Rico Dowdle, he's playing hard for himself. He's a $1.2 million running back.
Yeah, you got a bunch of undrafted guys.
You've got dudes that are trying to fight to get to the next contract and be that put on the tape. They always talk about the tape. Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and totally say they're not playing hard for Mike, but not to the point, the level. Gosh, they're playing hard for Mike. They're really trying. No, they're playing hard because a lot of these guys are not making NFL big money. If this was a team if this was the Jets or one of these teams that has a lot of veteran players, then maybe you would see them not play as hard. Maybe it wouldn't be as pretty. Maybe the decision would be cut and dry. But that's why I asked Bobby about the backups. Because those backups are playing at a really, really high level for you right now. They are finding ways to get that done, and they're doing that because they're all playing for jobs in the future and contracts in the future. And a credit to those guys for doing that. But let's not skew, playing hard for the coach and that discussion.
NBC's Mike Tirico with Sean and RJ earlier this week. Mike, what are your thoughts on these Buccaneers?
They're good. I think they're good. I think their offense is very good. And you're talking young offensive coordinators and guys who are good. Liam Cohen is right there. And Liam Cohen's name will be on the list here, if not this year, next year, for guys who get interviews for head coaching jobs. Because remember, this was an offense that was defined by Godwin and Evans, two very good receivers. Mike Evans is putting up a Hall of Fame over 100 touchdown catch career here.
Yeah.
And then they go out. And so they've got to pivot. And now they pivot to young running backs and an offensive line that they kind of acquired many of the pieces during the Brady days, developed a couple, and they have stayed the course and now helped this team turn it around. And same thing like Dallas, last 4 games on defense, they've been much better. Todd Bowles has them giving up 15, 16 a game. So both sides of the ball have had to do a little bit of a pivot. And offensive was injury-driven in the first middle chunk of the season, let's say, because they got off to a good start. Heck, they beat Detroit and Philadelphia at the start of the season. Nobody else can say that in the NFL. And as they've kind of pivoted here through their midseason struggles, it's a good football team, solid football team. Look at them close strong and win the division. They'll be a tough out at home if they win the South, and they'll be a tough out on Sunday night for the Cowboys.
No question about it. I mean, this offense for the Buccaneers, 28 points per game, and they've scored 24 or more points 11 times this season. That's tied for the most in the league. So this is going to be a tough task defensively for sure. And every task is a difficult one offensively for these Cowboys as currently constructed. And the Bucs defense is starting to trend in the right direction a little bit, but they're certainly not world beaters. But it's really Baker Mayfield, this rushing attack, and Liam Cohen, the OC. I mean, that's a guy that you're wondering, man, in the scenario where McCarthy does come back as head coach, and you say, hey, like we can't be running this offense anymore. The biggest problem with you, Mike McCarthy, is your offense being Stone Age at times. And you always harken back to 30 years ago. We need to be a little bit more forward-thinking offensively. Find a guy like Liam Cohen. Nobody know that's a name nobody knew of. No football fan knew that name. But boom, he shows up in Tampa, and that dude's a beast, and he's got that offense really, really clicking right now. Go find the next guy that can do something like that, and that would be the only way that you can convince me that the McCarthy return could be salvageable.
Yeah, and maybe Mike doesn't want to learn another offense. Maybe that's where he's...
Mike, I don't even need you to learn it, bro. You just, you're the CEO, you're doing your thing. Yeah, we're doing this now.
Maybe,
and I don't think he'll sign off on that.
Yeah, I don't think he'll sign off on that either. But I do feel like, with Liam Cohen, I've watched him because He was with the Rams. Then he went to Kentucky. Then he went back to the Rams and then got this gig with Tampa. So I've seen him. You watched what Kentucky was able to do and how they were able to play. You saw a physical running game. You saw the quarterback, the play action stuff. You saw how there's some creativity to the offense.
And you see it now with the Bucs.
And you see it with the Bucs, and you're absolutely right. And he's got a quarterback. He's very comfortable playing football this way, and he's called the types of games that benefits Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield have done a nice job delivering for him. You got two backs that can run the ball. You got a big-time wide receiver. You got a tight end that catch, and then an offensive line that will lean on you and pass protect. So he's got a lot of pieces in place to try and finish this thing off for the Bucs in the next 3 weeks.
One more, NBC's Mike Tirico with Sean and RJ earlier this week. Mike, why is Bill Belichick in college and not the NFL?
Interesting. First off, I would guess that the noise of not many people inquiring softly about the NFL was real.
Yeah.
And I think Bill wants to coach. And I think the way college is right now, Bill's approach is perfect. If you want to be an NFL player, come here, period. NIL money will come because of Belichick. Carolina's got a significant alumni base that they can dip into that wants to be around something that's a winner and successful. Carolina's had a good program at different points in the past. And if you think of the schools that have turned out the NFL guys, look at the rosters of any NFL team. Bunch of Bama guys, bunch of Georgia guys off the championship teams, significant number of Clemson guys. Guys want to be in the NFL, so that's where they want to go. And in this day and age where you no longer have to just recruit, you can have annual free agency with the absolute stupidity that college football has become, ruined by a bunch of folks sitting on the side of the road with no guardrails put up. You can go in and do this. So Bill can be a free agent and sign a bunch of guys, or a free agent coach and sign a bunch of guys who he wants right away, as opposed to I've got the 17th pick in the draft. I've got to wait for somebody to fall for me. So that plus his desire to coach. Look, do I think he wanted to set the all-time coaching wins thing? Of course. That's why I did all the interviews last year. That's why I was down the road. But when you see that there aren't a lot of people making these quiet reach outs to, hey, maybe we should talk at the end of the year, you don't want to sit on the side of the road the next year. Great place to live, tie with his dad that he talked about, ability to coach people, make a ton of money. Why not? I think it was brilliant by Carolina's folks, whoever drove it on their side. And I think it's good for college football because it'll have that energy like Dion brought to Colorado, where everybody wants to see what Carolina does at the start of next season.
No question it's going to be appointment television. Bill Belichick now in college, and I think one of the big things, Mike laid it out beautifully there, but also being in the ACC, that is not a gauntlet of a conference there. He could snap his fingers. SMU goes to the ACC, boom, they're immediately in the playoff. Clemson's at the top of that food chain there, but they're not what they were as a power, 5 years ago or whatever. So I think that it's definitely a great opportunity for him there in the ACC to get it done. All right, today's game between the Tampa Bay Bucs and the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium is brought to you by WinStar. WinStar is proud to be the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. All right, it's the pregame show. Now under 2 hours to kick off Sunday Night Football here at AT&T Stadium. Let's catch up with Babe Laufenberg next right here on The Fan.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica,
for worse, turned over, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell your seats. Score your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Cowboys.
All right, we're under 2 hours to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Christy Scales will give us the scoop coming up here in just a few minutes, but right now it's time to welcome in Babe Laufenberg live from the Brad Sham booth here at AT&T Stadium. And Babe, happy game night to you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. A little bit disappointed that Washington won today. Not that, again, it was a long shot, but with Washington winning, Cowboys are mathematically eliminated. And I know it was like 1% chance, but at least we could talk about it.
Yeah, now it's official. I mean, would that change anything in the way that you would want to approach things in terms of who should be playing? Like, I'm looking at the Tyler Guyton situation tonight going, man, if he's healthy, he's got to be your starting left tackle.
He won't be the starting left tackle, and I think he is healthy, but he will play a little bit. It'll be Adoga over there. But, no, I don't think anything changes. From Mike McCarthy's standpoint, we've heard him long enough and through the years that he's going to play this game to win it tonight, just like he's going to play next week against Philadelphia to win that one, and then Washington at home in the final game. You know, it's important to a lot of these guys, and the notion that guys are going to mail it in. You know, Brock Hoffman's getting a start at right guard today, Adoga at left tackle. Are these guys, are they at the point in their career where they say, well, I'll be back, I've got 5 years under me? No, they got to prove that they need to sign him again for next year.
Yeah, babe. See, this is, I totally agree with you, because I'm looking at this as, you know, we always talk about, well, they're playing hard for Mike McCarthy. And yes, they are playing hard for Mike McCarthy. I think these guys are playing hard for themselves. They're playing hard for their future. And, you know, and Brock Hoffman doesn't, he was in training camp and he was in a battle with Cooper Beebe. And the next thing you know, after a Rams scrimmage, it's like Cooper Beebe's the starting center of this team. So, yeah, I mean, you know, Dowdle, you got guys that are playing hard for themselves.
Well, and let me just say, these guys didn't get to this level or the level of any sport, any professional athlete. They didn't get there by saying, yeah, I think I'll mail it in today. You guys ever go down and play 3-on-3 basketball back in the day? And if you lost, you lost the court. You waited an hour to get back onto the court. I mean, you fought tooth and nail, right? Just to stay on the court. Well, that meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. This is their career. This is their profession. And again, these guys didn't get to this point by being non-competitive people. So I don't think there's a player on this field tonight for the Cowboys, or Tampa Bay for that matter, who's going to go out there thinking, well, I'll just kind of go through the motions here for 60 minutes, get my check, and move on to next week.
Babe, have you ever seen a quarterback fumble the ball 9 times in 7 games and keep his starting job? Because that's what we're looking at with Cooper Rush right now.
You know, the amazing thing about that, guys, is where you would think you would see problems with that quarterback-center exchange is when you're under center. Right. That can be, I've been there, that can be problematic. You get a new center, they put it to a different spot. It's all different, but he's been screwing up the shotgun snaps, which are, it's amazing to me. As a matter of fact, you know, you play a rain game, I would put my quarterback in shotgun. It would kind of go counter to what you would think. I'd rather have my quarterback in shotgun. You can have fewer fumbles in the rain in shotgun than you are with that quarterback underneath center. But, hey, let me tell you, Baker Mayfield, he's got 10 fumbles himself this year. The difference is he's only lost 2 of them. So it's one thing to fumble, and then you guys help you out by getting on it, and everybody forgets about it. But Baker has 10 fumbles. The other thing about Cooper, you know, he's had 11 starts. There's been only 1 game where he has thrown more than 1 interception. 10 of his starts have been 1 or fewer. Mm-hmm. The only 22 in Philly had a 3-interception game, so he's taking care of the ball from that standpoint. So it's just odd, the fumbling and the way he's fumbled. It's not like he's getting hit from behind and the ball comes out. We all understand that, but you know, he's dropping quarterback snaps. He's mishandling on the mesh with the running back. So, you know, hopefully that gets cleaned up today, because there's no margin for error tonight when they're playing Tampa Bay.
Babe, a bigger concern offensively for Tampa, the Mike Evans or what they have at running back tonight?
Well, can I say both? Am I allowed to say that? because they're pretty balanced.
I kind of figured you might.
To the fire. We're holding your feet to the fire, babe.
Okay, well then I'll say Mike Evans if you hold your feet to the fire.
Thank you. Yeah,
because the guy's a touchdown machine.
Sure.
He's got 9 touchdowns this year. He's missed 3.5 games.
Yeah.
He is just so tough to handle. Not only is he a big play guy, he is also. There have been more pass interference penalties called against the guys guarding him than any receiver in the league, and there's a good reason. He's 6'5", he's 230, and he can run like the wind. So, I mean, he's just a handful out there. But they are pretty balanced.
Yeah.
They're running the ball. I'll be honest. I don't know how Dave Canales, who is now the head coach at Carolina, got the head coaching job, because he came from Tampa, was the OC there. Tampa last year, they were last in rushing offense. Last. Right. They were 30th in red zone scoring. They were 20th in scoring overall. How do you parlay that into a head coaching job? But he did, and good for him. But Liam Cohen has his team. All the statistics that count in my mind, third downs, total yards, red zone offense, all that. They're top 5 in all of them. So they've been doing a great job.
Well, you add a center in the first round that can cut the defense in half, and then you add a running back in the 4th round that nobody really liked because he was 5'9". But if you watch the Oregon tape, every time he handed him the ball, he was making a play. Trust me, I've seen a lot of Nick's tape, Bo Nick's tape, and kind of figuring out, oh, wait, they just throw the ball? No, they run the ball. Bucky Irving can run the ball.
Well, and to your point, Brian, Bucky Irving, there were 5 running backs taken ahead of him in the draft. He was taken in the 4th round. He has gained more rush yards than the 5 guys combined that were drafted ahead of him.
Right.
So he's been a really good player. They utilize their backs in the passing game. Only Miami has more receptions by running backs. He's got 38. He led the FBS in receptions last year at Oregon. So he's a dual threat coming out of there. And hey, when you're 5'9" and about 195. Typically you are going to be one of those good pass catchers. That's how you got into the league and why you were successful in college. And he's definitely a dual threat.
Babe, are we going to learn a lot about Maris Chiofalo tonight? You mentioned ball to the flat, receivers to the flat, backs to the flat. We're going to learn a lot about him in coverage tonight?
Yeah, I like the way he has played. And obviously the more opportunities he's gotten, the more he's made plays, and that kind of goes without saying. Like people are saying, well, Luke Schoonmaker, he hasn't done anything. Well, he was literally playing one play a game on offense, so it's hard to have an impact on that. Then Ferguson goes down, and all of a sudden Luke Schoonmaker caught 5 passes a game. Then next week he catches 6. So I think Chiofalo, I think that's a heck of a pick that they had there in the 3rd round. He's just. To me, he reminds me a little bit of a younger Eric Kendricks, just kind of all over the field, savvy, smart. Obviously, he came from Notre Dame, so you got to be somewhat intelligent to get in there and graduate from that school. And he's done a heck of a job. And, again, in my mind, he's only going to get better.
It's Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Back to Baker, Babe. Do you feel like, is this Baker Mayfield playing at the height of his powers? Is this the best you've seen him look?
Yes, and it's probably the best team, obviously, that he's been around. I know he had a stint with the Rams but a couple of years ago, but they were beat up toward the end of the season when he was playing. But, he's playing well. Obviously, he's got some weapons outside. They will be without Cade Otton, their tight end.
That's big.
That is big because, he plays on rundowns, pass downs. As a matter of fact, he's taken more snaps than any other tight end in the NFL. So he's not a guy that comes out, plays 40 snaps out of the 70. He's playing every down, and obviously he won't play any down today. But, no, Baker, he's an interesting guy, right? I see the parallels. This isn't necessarily a revelation, but, he and Sam Darnold, right? Baker's working on his 4th team, Sam Darnold on his 3rd, and we know what Sam Darnold is doing up there in Minnesota. He's got weapons around him. He's got a good offensive coach in Kevin O'Connell, and Baker's in the same position here in Tampa where they both seem to have kind of found their niche. First pick in the draft, Baker, 3rd pick, Sam Darnold, and they're kind of justifying a little bit of what teams saw in them before. But let's face it, you go to Cleveland and you go to the New York Jets coming out of college, and it's a graveyard for quarterbacks, and it was for them.
Hey, Babe, watching Tampa tape, Tampa, for its history, has always had pass rushers. Simeon Rice. I mean, they've always had pass rushers.
Right.
But this group, I've seen linebacker blitzes. I've seen secondary blitzes.
Yeah.
How is, in Cooper Rush at times gets a little stiff back there, a little heavy-footed. How concerned should we be tonight of linebacker blitzes and secondary blitzes in this one?
It's funny you talk about heavy-footed, and however you want to phrase it, you're exactly right. Cooper Rush, he's not nimble. Joe Burrow, to me, in the pocket, as good as it gets. He's not Lamar Jackson running the ball, but, man, he just sidesteps, he bounces, he finds a lane, and that's not Cooper Rush. And this is a game where he's going to need to be that guy. Now, you can't magically go in, take a shot before the game, and you're that guy, but the way Tampa applies pressure, they do a lot of 6-man and 7 men up on the line of scrimmage. Obviously, they're not all coming, and it's a game where your rules as offensive linemen and back, they're just going to have to hold up because you're not going to have a perfect call. You just won't because you don't know. There's 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. You just got to kind of declare the mic, which we hear all the time, right? 53's Mike, 53's Mike, and then you got to go from there. I do think it'll be interesting to me, and this is not inside information, FYI. I wonder how much Zeke Elliott will be in there on third downs.
Yeah.
He's your best pass blocking back, and Tampa Bay can cause a lot of confusion. And they get those linebackers, to your point, Brian, they get these free runners in there, or you get a mismatch on the back, and it's over for your quarterback. And so I'm very interested to see if third down, people are going to say, what the heck is Zeke Elliott doing in there? But very interested to see if they utilize him a little bit more just for that reason.
Yeah, got to block him up, man. Todd Bowles will definitely get it dialed, and he'll send people from all over the place. So you got to have somebody back there that knows what they're doing. Zeke certainly does. On the flip side, though, I mean, Micah Parsons playing great football right now. This Cowboys pass rush has really resurged since Micah returned. I feel like Zimmer deserves plenty of credit for the way that he's using Micah. But what's your expectation for that matchup tonight? The Bucs offensive line, their tackles, they're a good group, man.
They are good, and it's funny. I always put on my charts where people were drafted, which round, right? And they've got 2 first-round picks up front. They've got 2 second-round picks up front, Tampa Bay. And they got a free agent playing left guard, a free agent that they went out and signed off the New York Giants, not a free agent like they get drafted. So they've allocated resources to that front, and there's a reason why they're good. Tristan Wirfs is about as good as it gets over there at left tackle. You can throw him into the top 5 tackles, I think, in the NFL. So they've allocated resources, and it's paid off. And, yeah, there's no question. They're a handful. I mean, they can run it. They can throw it. They can throw it deep. They can throw it to the backs. Now, Baker will throw you 1 or 2.
Yep.
And you just got to make sure when he does, you catch it, right? You're not going to get 5 of them thrown your way, but you're going to get a couple. He'll take his chances. Funny thing about Baker, too, very quickly, I mean, he rips every ball.
Yeah.
Nothing is layered or touched. If it's an in route, that thing's coming out 100 miles an hour. It looks like he's going to tear a rotator cuff every time he throws. And I remember Kurt Warner, and I always remember this, and I teach some of the young guys coming out, high school, college, whatever. Kurt Warner said, I can count on one hand the number of times that I threw the ball as hard as I could. It was always touch, putting it to a spot. I think I can count on one hand the times that Baker has not thrown the ball as hard as he can.
Yeah, he's got a live arm, man. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. He's got a strong arm. He's pretty dang accurate, but he does get a little buck wild back there sometimes. You can get your hands on some of his footballs defensively.
Go ahead.
Very
quickly, he's had more passes batted down at the line of scrimmage than anybody since he's been in the league. He's a shorter quarterback. He's got a long stride, so really his release point is lower even than his height would indicate. And, again, who's second on the list of getting balls knocked down at the line of scrimmage?
Bryce Young.
You'll know that. Good guess, but it's Kyler Murray.
Oh, Kyler, yeah.
Kyler Murray, who's 5'9". And so you can get to some of these balls. The key is, get your hands up. You may not get after him, but if you see when he goes to throw, these defensive linemen, get that hand in the air and see if you can knock one down.
Thank you, babe. You're the best. Enjoy the game, and we'll be listening.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg, live here from AT&T Stadium. We are now 1 hour and 39 minutes to kick off Sunday Night Football with the Bucs in town. And let's go ahead and welcome in Christy Scales, the best sideline reporter in the business. She'll give us the scoop before kickoff next right here on The Fan.
Hey, y'all. Matt Pittman here, the official
Radio Network, brought to you by Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Just over 90 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Welcome into the official pregame show of America's team. We're here in the Brad Sham radio booth, and it's time to go down to the turf here of AT&T Stadium and welcome in Christy Scales, Cowboy sideline reporter, giving us the scoop here before kickoff. Christy, happy game night to you. How are you?
Eric, I'm doing well, and usually Eric and Bryan, I like to be the bearer of good news, especially during the holidays, but we have somewhat of a surprise inactive tonight on the defense. He was listed as questionable, and it's a stalwart for the Cowboys defense this year who's played 88% of snaps and has played every game so far, even though he's been missing practice time with injuries, and that's Eric Kendricks.
Yeah.
So you're without the starting middle linebacker tonight. He had missed time this week for personal reasons, but also with that calf injury. So it's the calf that sidelines him tonight. And, of course, he is the guy so important, really the quarterback of the defense, the one that knows Zimmer's system better than anybody else. But he's normally the one that is out there relaying the calls from Mike Zimmer, and so you have a change in your green dots. So instead of Kendricks and Liufau and Nick Vigil, your green dots tonight are Maris Liufau, Nick Vigil, and then Damone Clark. And when they're in the base defense with three linebackers, it'll likely be those three. And then when they're in a nickel, ideally they'd like to have Liufau and Vigil. But Vigil is one of these veterans who, like Kendricks, misses some practice time. Nick Vigil, even though he's been playing, he's missed most practices this year because of a foot injury. So, we've had revolving doors at different positions this year, haven't we? At defensive end, at cornerback, and now with DeMarvion Overshown done for the season with a knee injury and Eric Kendricks out tonight, we add linebacker to that litany of injury concerns.
Well, that certainly adds some extra motivation for a guy like Maris Liufau tonight, huh?
Yeah, and well, even before the news on Kendricks, I saw Maris last night. It was at the Star in Frisco. It was the final night of the holiday show that the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and Rhythm and Blue do the free event on Fridays and Saturdays at the Star in Frisco with the tree lighting through the holiday season. And saw Maris last night. And Maris, Notre Dame, but he's not originally from the Midwest. He, of course, is from Honolulu. And 17 of his family members have flown in for this game, and he took them to the show last night at the Star in Frisco. He's got a couple more people that are down from Oregon. His girlfriend is here tonight. So Maris Liufau has 20 people in the stands, 17 of them flying from Honolulu to be here for this game. So the other thing is, Maris has mainly been playing like on the outside. I know you were talking with Babe earlier about his work in the flat and everything. Don't be surprised. I think he's going to be working more of the middle tonight. So that's going to be very interesting, and just, you just wonder what these changes do to Mike Zimmer's plan, and when you have a younger guys and guys who aren't used to doing the green dot. Vigil, of course, has done it for a lot, and he has a lot of familiarity with the system and played for Paul Gunter there for several years. But still, when you're relying on younger guys who haven't done it throughout the season, I just wonder if that's going to affect anything with the defensive plan tonight.
I'll tell you what, it will affect the Buccaneers. I mean, they'll run the football. They're going to try and take advantage of with Kendricks not being in there. He's the leading tackler you have every single week. Christy, I want to focus on the cornerback spot because I'm kind of curious of how they're going to play opposite of Bland tonight.
Yeah, so just like last week, it'll be Amani Oruwariye who's going to get the start. And last week in Carolina, we saw Andrew Booth come in the fourth quarter and take the final couple of longer series there for the defense in the fourth quarter. And so they're going to give Booth some more opportunities tonight as well. But AO's going to start and take the vast majority of snaps. But don't be surprised if you see Booth go in. It wasn't anything to do do with Ayo's level of play last week is that they want to give him some time, and they still see those two guys as competing for time, although Ayo's going to be the starter and get a majority of work again tonight.
Awesome. And Christy, when it comes to the offensive line, you get Cooper Beebe back at center, and I presume Hoffman goes back to right guard?
Exactly right, Eric. And so talking with some of the staff, they say the benefit of that is like having two centers on the field. And by that I mean, even though he doesn't have a lot of experience in the NFL and a lot of games, Brock Hoffman, so great with the recognition, so great with the communication and helping with the call. So they say it's like having two centers out there at the same time. And from Cooper Beebe's perspective, having Hoffman next to him is kind of like having Zach Martin, right? Someone to kind of help you along and reinforce when you are making the call. So they're happy that Beebe is back, of course, after missing last week's game with a concussion, but happy that Hoffman can just slide back in at right guard where he's been playing already in place of Zach Martin.
Yeah, that's huge. And the Bucs have a great offensive line, Christy. This rushing attack, Bucky Irvin, Rashad White. How do they go about slowing those guys down?
Well, that's the thing, talking with the defensive staff about Irving in particular, and you can say the same thing about White. Sneaky yards is the way it's described to me, and sneaky yards meaning yards after contact, the falling forward, running with power, but some niftiness as well. By the way, this sounds a lot like Rico Dowdle the last few weeks, doesn't it? I thought that last week we saw more niftiness from Rico than I don't know that I've seen from him before. But the thing tonight is, yes, they expect that the Bucs are going to try and run against him. And you're right, especially with Kendricks being out. It's just now under 90 minutes, where the 90-minute mark is when the inactives are turned in. So the Bucs just 1 minute and 16 seconds ago found out for sure that Kendricks is not playing tonight. So, yes, the issue tonight is making sure that you get all hats on the ball and not allowing those yards after contact. Don't let those 3-yard runs become 6 or 7 yard runs because you're letting the guy fall forward and get the extra yards. It's going to be hard enough against those two guys already. And with that offensive line, I think it's real interesting to see, and we see this at this time of year throughout the league, the teams that are running the best, the teams that are most consistent on offense, often it has to do with the consistency of the offensive line play and how healthy have they been throughout the year. And unlike the Cowboys, which have had the litany of injuries, and we know that Zach Martin's out for the year and BB missing last week, the Bucs offensive line only has 6 games missed by starters this year. And 4 of those were at right tackle with Luke Getty. So, yeah, they've been healthy and they've been consistent. And, yes, I do expect them to run.
Christy, you're the best. Appreciate the time. We look forward to catching up with you next hour.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Bryan.
Absolutely. There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales right here on the pregame show, bringing you the news you didn't really want to hear when it comes to some of that stuff, Eric Kendricks. But, hey, great opportunity for Maris Leaf out tonight. He's got all the family and friends in town. This will be quite the test as the Bucs are bringing quite the offense here. Okay, we continue the pregame show. We're under 90 minutes to kick off. Let's go behind enemy lines with Bucs play-by-play man Gene Deckeroff next. Coming up live from AT&T Stadium here on The Fan.
The big game is coming, and we're all wondering, have you gotten your Tyson Cowboys nuggets yet? Head on down to your local grocery store and pick up a package to become a game day star, just like our Cowboys. And for every purchase of the new Tyson Cowboys nuggets this holiday season, Tyson Foods will donate $1 to the Salvation Army, up to $100,000. This game and all games to come, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply.
every great company. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's Feed Your Wild Side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Tyson Foods. Get your Tyson Cowboys Star Nuggets. Available now. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Yes, the Cowboys were eliminated from postseason play today thanks to the Commanders beating the Eagles. But the party continues here at AT&T Stadium, Week 16, Sunday Night Football with Baker Mayfield and the Bucs in town. And this is an 8-win football team that has their sights set on the playoffs, and this is a big-time game for them. And it'll be a tough task for the Cowboys tonight here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Welcome into the official pregame show of America's team. I'm Eric Chiofalo alongside the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus, and we'll go behind enemy lines with the voice of the Buccaneers, Gene Deckeroff, coming up here in just a few minutes. But welcome to Sunday Night Football. Broaddus, how we doing, man?
Doing well, though it is a little bit disappointing that you're not playing for something tonight, but we kind of felt like the way that the season had been going, the early season losses, the injuries, this was going to be a tough task for this Cowboys. They've played better as the season's gone on. The defense become healthier, though. You're getting some play from your running backs. They're committed more to running the football with the running backs. CeeDee Lamb and others have been playing better. But, it kind of all comes to a big thud tonight, so now you got to play out the strength.
That's right, and this Bucs offense is clicking right now in a big way. Very, very balanced. Baker Mayfield through the air. It's Mike Evans. It's McMillan, the rookie. And then it's, of course, the running backs, Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. So it'll be a tall order for the defense for sure, especially no Eric Kendricks. Just found out from Christy Scales he is inactive, dealing with a calf issue. He was questionable coming in. That's a bit of a surprise here as we inch closer and closer to kickoff. So what does that do to the defense for the Cowboys tonight? Obviously, Maris Leofau's going to have to step up. And who else?
Well, Damone Clark is going to have to play.
Welcome back, Damone Clark.
Yeah, Damone Clark is going to have to play. And they're going to have to kind of figure some things out there. Christy was talking about the base and the things that Tampa will be able to do. Tampa likes to run the football. They have the two backs, as we've talked about. They have a very physical offensive line. They're going to make things difficult for you. We talked about their ability to throw the football, throw it into the flats, hit these running backs. So this will be a tough task for the linebackers. The thing with Eric Kendricks, what Kendricks says is that sideline-to-sideline player. So, you take that out of the mix now. And Tampa could take advantage of some of these linebackers and the way it goes today.
Yeah, no Kendricks is huge. That's the quarterback of your defense, and this is a challenging offense
Very
to try
challenging.
to defend.
Very challenging.
I mean, from a schematic standpoint, the personnel up front with the offensive line, they got some bullies. They're one of some of the best in the league there. And then Baker Mayfield's playing really, really well. So this is going to be fun, and with the way that with the Buccaneers offense is going right now, and it's kind of a pick your poison. Mike Evans, but no Cade Otton, the tight end, and that's huge because they don't really have a guy behind him that is a big threat.
Yeah, the thing about it is they're kind of figuring some things out. Otton is just this guy he's got a high volume of targets, and so, that taking him out of the mix, that's going to be something because he's such a downfield player for them and his ability to work underneath. And so with the way that this quarterback likes to operate, taking him out of the mix, it'll hurt them, but the way they play, like we talked about with the backs, and then with Evans, though, that'll more than make up for what they have with Otton.
For sure. Keeping him out of the end zone will be tough. The Bucs have scored 24 more points 11 times this season. That's tied for the most in the league. And on that note, let's go ahead and welcome in our next guest.
Rachaad White now. Sidecar to the left. Two receivers to the left. In motion, Culpa tied in. Here's the pass. Swing pass to the right side. Caught ball by Rachaad White. Finds Dave on the outside the number. 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown Tampa Bay. Fire the cannons. Bucs take the lead.
Behind enemy lines with a true legend, the voice of the Buccaneers, Gene Deckeroff, a fan favorite locally on 105.3 The Fan with the G-Bag Nation. TD Tuesday, we celebrate the best touchdown calls each and every football weekend. And, Gene, you are basically a Hall of Famer, my friend. Welcome to the program, dude. It's great to see you.
I follow Brad, so okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And Merrill Reese and the crew,
Yes.
But it's great to be in Dallas. This is an amazing building. It's just always great to come here, and unfortunately, we don't win as often. I think we're 3-4 in this building, so maybe we can even that thing up today. I don't know. The Bucs are playing very good football, offensively and defensively. We have scored more points on the road than we have at home average per ball game. And since the bye week, we're averaging 31 points scored and allowing opponents 15, which is a pretty good ratio there if you can keep that going. But again, this league is so tough. You can't assume victory no matter where you go. And who's that? I know they play in the same division, but I watched that Philadelphia game today.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Washington had 5 turnovers and 5 touchdowns and still won the game with 6 seconds to go. That tells you on any given Sunday, I guess there's a movie named then, that any team can win, and the Buccaneers need a win in the worst way because we're keeping track of Atlanta. Atlanta had an easy game today. Well, nothing's easy in the league, but they did beat New York and beat them handily with a rookie quarterback who was I think I read the clip, only the third rookie in Atlanta Falcons history to win in his first career start. So and he's a Tampa kid too. Penix is from Tampa Bay Tech High School in Hillsborough County, and we don't need to face a hot quarter. We don't play them anymore. They beat us twice in overtime, and then we lost by 5 at home. And for some reason, Atlanta has had our number for the last couple of years, and we're half game ahead of Atlanta in the division. And if we don't win, we're sort of like the Cowboys. If we don't win, we don't get in. And the tiebreakers are owned by the Atlanta Falcons, so we have to win the last 3 ball games, which begins tonight in Dallas. We're running the ball very well. Baker Mayfield, despite turning the ball over, I think 12 interceptions, that's second in the league. But he comes back and does things that wins football games. Coach Bowles in preseason said he's got moxie. Yes. And that's a good description of Baker
think he
Mayfield.
leads the league in moxie.
Yeah. He's got it. And a clip, he has played in this building for the state championship and won. He played here with Oklahoma and won. I think when he started for Texas Tech here in this building, he lost. But then he won a conference championship game here. So I think he's 3-1 in this building in his football career. And he's a Texas kid, so coming back home, I figure he's going to be a little juiced today, I
would imagine.
Yeah.
I would imagine. Yes. I would. I mean, have you ever covered a guy like Baker at the quarterback position? He seems like one of the more unique personalities.
He is unique. And to answer your question, maybe I covered Jameis Winston when he played for the Florida State Seminoles.
We love
that. I
some
covered Jameis Winston when he threw the pick 6 in his final game in pewter and red. And I went to the locker room and patted him on the shoulder. That's okay. We'll be back next year. Boom, he did not get his contract renewed. But, Jameis was a unique quarterback. Always great to me from what I do for a living. Interview players, interview coaches.
Sure.
And for that matter, Deion never turned me down when he played at Florida State.
Sure.
I don't know if he'd turn me down now. Probably would.
Oh, Gene, you're a Florida State legend. They would never turn you down.
I'd wear a cowboy hat and sunglasses. He probably would do the interview with me. I don't know, Deion, but Deion had a great career here with Dallas.
Right.
Among 4 or 5 teams. He beat us, I think, with every team he played on. Atlanta, Washington, Dallas. I think but it was Frisco maybe one time. I forget. He played for 5 teams.
Sure.
I think he never lost to the Buccaneers. I don't know.
I never did. Yeah. Gene, I was going to ask you about on offense with the rookies, with Bucky Irving, and then and with Barton the center, and what a difference they've made to a team last year that really didn't run the ball all that well. And then here you are, you find a way, you draft the center and you draft the running back there.
Well, Bucky he's been a difference maker. When he comes in, the crowd starts chanting Bucky, Bucky, Bucky. And Rachaad White he's going to hold on that number 1 job. But Bucky comes in, you don't lose a beat. He leads us in rushing touchdowns. He's a dynamic. Football games are won. 1, winning the turnover margin, 2, converting third down, but number 3, maybe the most important, explosive plays.
Sure.
And in our lineup, Mike Evans and Bucky Irving are our 2 explosive play guys. And without those 2, we don't have explosive plays. And obviously the quarterback, Baker Mayfield, he's going to either hand it off or throw the ball. But we've had explosive plays, which we did not have last year. Dave Canales was a brand-new signal caller, play caller. He earned a head coaching job at Carolina with 1 year of calling plays. And he and Baker had something going there, and the offense got better and better. We made the playoffs. We won the division for the 3rd year in a row. So Dave did something good, got a big job, and then along comes Liam Cohen.
Right.
And Liam Cohen worked with Baker Mayfield with the Rams briefly for 5 games. And I think Baker Mayfield may have had something to do with the hiring of Liam Cohen. But what a hire that was by Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers, because we have been dead flat last in rushing, 32nd in the league for the last 2 years, maybe 3. And this year we're one of the top 5 rushing teams in the National Football League. And if you can run the ball and you get a lead,
that other team's pressed to try to score points, you just run that clock and run that clock. We did that last week in Los Angeles. The Chargers did not convert a third down, did not convert a fourth down. I've never seen that in a football game. It's the only one this year that's happened for the Buccaneer defense, but we just control the clock 13 minutes more than they had the ball. And that's so frustrating. If you're behind, you can't get the ball.
Right.
So the running game complements what the Bucs are trying to do. But Liam Cohen, unfortunately, I'm reading all these clippings, all these news articles, and hearing about everybody saying he may be a hot candidate for a head coaching job. And I'd certainly like to see him stay because he has called a remarkable season. Speaking of rookies, Jalen McMillan, throw him in the mix because Chris Godwin went down to an injury 7 games ago. This will be the 8th game, I think, that he's missed. Don't know if he'll be able to come back in the playoffs, but he was our go-to guy. It took Jalen a little while to get used, but he scored 3 touchdowns the last 2 ball games. And I think Baker Mayfield has confidence in this rookie to make a play for him. And so then you got Bucky, you got Jalen McMillan. You mentioned Graham Barton at center. You know, it's sort of, Cowboys got a rookie. I don't know if he's going to start tonight. Beebe's a rookie. He played like guard or tackle in his college career. This kid, Graham Barton, played tackle at Duke for 3 years. The only time he played center was as a freshman. And so he, by the way, he has the most penalties on the ball. This is a good note for Brad. He's been penalized 12 times. But then I noticed Beebe, he's been penalized like 16 times, okay? So what is it about rookie linemen? So Buccaneer football is as good as it's been. Even I would compare this season to the Tom Brady years. I really would. Although we went 13-4 for the second year Tom Brady was here. We won a Super Bowl his first year with us.
Yes, you did.
Although but then the second year 13-4, and then we fell off. You know, Tom his last game of the season we lost, and we had a losing season. But now he's earning a little bit more than Brad learns.
Yes, a little bit more.
To do football. A little bit more. About $375 million, I think. And by the way, he's doing a good job. He got knocked. Everybody throwing darts at him and everything. Every time I have a chance to listen to Tom Brady, I said, man, he's doing as well in the booth as he did. Oh, I still like Tony Romo. Dallas fan. I still like Tony Romo.
Man.
I had to at least shout out to Tony, you know.
Thank you.
But,
Hey, Gene, what do you think about the creamsicle uniforms?
Yeah, well, that's the uniform we wore when I started in '89.
Sure, I was about
we wore
to say.
that cream circle until Mr. Glazer bought the franchise in '95, and then NFL Properties got involved with the franchise and said, this is what we recommend. And so in addition to a new stadium, Raymond James Stadium, we went to the pewter and red.
Right.
And I love the pewter and red. The NFL is not a $18-20 billion industry without making correct moves and wise decisions as a league. And they came up with and Mr. Glazer and the family agree that we like those colors.
Yeah.
Then you add the pirate ship and the cannon fire, and it's the rest is. What would I say after a touchdown if we didn't have cannons? You know, touchdown Cowboys, touchdown Buccaneers. Fire them cannons, you know.
Yeah, there it is. I love it. Behind enemy lines with the play-by-play legend, the voice of the Buccaneers, Mr. Gene Deckeroff. So is that every home touchdown?
But I can't say it here.
Right, you don't do it on the road.
No, and our chief operating officer, Bryan Ford, his younger son is getting married on March the 1st, and they asked me how today on the bus coming over, would you announce first time Mr. and Mrs. Brandon Ford? I said absolutely, and I said, are we going to have a cannon so we can fire that?
Got to fire them cannons, baby.
So he asked his dad, are we going to have a cannon? About what? Maybe we'll have an artificial, a sound effect or something like that.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be great?
Fit that in the budget.
I do. Fire them cannons.
Yes, that is fantastic.
To the point of the rookies, there's a note. We interviewed Jason Light every week in pregame. Building the Bucs is the segment, and he had a note that he wanted me to ask him today, and I said, man, he's making my job easy. Usually I have to figure out what questions to ask, what questions, but not only youth, but there's 20 players that are on this roster now, on and back and forth practice squad activated, elevated on game day, but 20 players that were not on the original 53-man roster. And they're contributing. I think 8 of those have played in more than 5 games. So these are players that were in depth, either free agents out of college, or maybe a pickup of a free agent veteran that are sort of hidden in the weeds, as they used to say, but that are coming through and contributing. So there's depth in the roster. You've got the big playmakers in Evans. So I hope Mike can get 1,000 yards again and tie Jerry Rice for the most consecutive games.
Seems like Baker's making it his mission to get that done.
Well, he 159 yards last week, and 2 were huge, explosive touchdowns, including one that sort of put the game away in the third quarter. But if he's got 3 games, he's got to average close to 70 yards a game, and he'll get his 1,000 yards. So hopefully he stays healthy. He's playing with a hamstring. They list him on the injury list every week. Hamstring, rest, hamstring. But we're unbeaten with him back in the lineup, and our offense has exploded with Mike back in the lineup since the bye week. He missed 3 games. We lost all 3 of those games. Mike has a big part to do with the Tampa Bay. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He'll join that bunch that Tony Dungy had. We've got like 5, 6 in the Hall of Fame now.
It's a good squad.
Including coaches. But Mike Evans, and I'll tell you, Levante David does. I heard you say that Kendricks is out.
Yeah.
Well, Levante David is the Kendricks of the Buccaneer defense.
Sure.
He's the captain, 11-year captain. He just comes up. He's 34 years old. I mean, goodness gracious. He's still playing like a rookie. I mean, last week he led us in tackles with 12. He leads among active players with 31 forced fumbles and I think 19 recovered fumbles. He's got numbers that are comparable to Hall of Fame linebackers of the league, and he doesn't get much publicity. He's only been to one Pro Bowl, I think, in his career.
That's crazy.
And he's led us in tackles for the last 10 years, and he's our second leading. But only Derek Brooks has more tackles than Levante David. But he's quiet, doesn't make any noise, never gets in trouble. Good family man. His foundation is outstanding, and. So I guess you got to make a lot of noise and wear fancy clothes, and wear hats at press conferences,
fire some cannons, perhaps.
Yeah. But he should be in the Hall of Fame. And that, again, second youngest team in the league last year. Last year, the youngest team in the league. This year, the second youngest team in the league. Jason Light and his front office are doing something that's really special for this franchise, and I hope it continues.
No Kate Otten tonight at tight end. How huge is that?
And I asked Dave Moore, who does our radio broadcast. He played tight end, also special team. And I said, what does that mean to our offense with not having Kate Otten?
Right.
And he said, well, they can make adjustments. And he said, we do a lot of stuff to the running backs. So that means Rashad White will probably get 3 or 4 more catches. Bucky Irving maybe 1 or 2 more, although Bucky's not necessarily the throw-to guy. White is the throw-to guy. But they elevated from the practice squad a fellow that played at the University of Washington, played in the championship game, and Culp was his last week. Devin Culp. And he hasn't played a game this year. But it was unique in preseason. The note I had, he was the fastest 40 time in the combine among tight ends, the 3rd fastest among anybody 230 pounds or more. He ran a 4.47 at the combine.
Jeez.
Now, what does that mean? You get out there and you get nervous and got to go change clothes at halftime.
Yeah.
But that happens to rookies. But I'd like to see a speed guy at tight end. I mean, look at the tight ends around the league that are. Every time we play Atlanta, we got to face that guy that played at Florida.
Old Pitts.
He ran like a 4.45 40. I mean, he's the fastest tight end in his combine. But he was a first-round draft pick too. Devin Culp he's the 5th Washington kid on this roster. 5 from Washington, and including McMillan, the wide receiver.
Yeah.
And obviously the tight end Culp, but. We'll see. He's active. Whether he gets a target or not, I don't know. But Mike Evans will be the guy. Rashad White and Bucky Irving will be the guy. And our defense, we finally got an interception last week. I can't figure out why we go 7 games without an interception. In fact, during preseason practice, this is a quote. I couldn't use the whole thing on the broadcast because it's sort of rare you want to say this. But when he intercepted a pass at practice during preseason camp, Coach Todd Bowles at the press conference said, he said, I'm going to have him drug tested after this because he hadn't picked off a pass in a year. And so all of a sudden it comes to week 15, week 15, 14th game of the season, and he picks off a pass in Los Angeles last week. So maybe he'll get another 1 or 2. Our leading interceptor is a rookie, Tyke Smith from the University of Georgia. He has 2, and then Zion McCullum has 2, and we had only 5 going into that game last week. I think that was like last in the league. Now, another thing that I think for Dallas fans listening to this broadcast, watching on TV, listening to Brad describe the play-by-play, the Bucs are going to try to run the ball. We've run successfully. Going to try to get the ball to Mike Evans.
Right. And
we're going to try to confuse defensively a quarterback that's filling in for a soon-to-be Hall of Fame quarterback in Dak Prescott. But Cooper Rush, he had a good game last week. I watched the game on video replay. I watched the game. He beat Carolina, and he managed the game extremely well. And so they're going to put some pressure, I think, on Cooper Rush. That's the Todd Bowles formula.
I love it.
He's going to put pressure on the quarterback, and it's up to the Dallas offensive line to try to contain it. If it comes down to a field goal, I like our kicker.
Yeah, we like ours too.
I know.
That's the one.
Two really good kickers here tonight. Well, like they say, the best drive, all the great drives in football end with a kick.
All in with a kick.
So
Amen
we've
to
had
that.
we've had a few winning field goals from Chase McClellan.
Well, that's a hell
was
of a
good
scouting
talking to
report.
you.
Yes, great chatting with you, Gene. We really appreciate it, man. It's
Fire
great to
them
meet you.
cannons. Fire them,
We won't be
them
firing cannons
fire them.
tonight.
No, not tonight. It's
All
against
right.
the law in Dallas.
Yeah.
You can't fire cannons in a public venue.
That's right. All right, there he goes, behind enemy lines with the voice of the Buccaneers, the legendary Gene Deckeroff, ladies and gentlemen. We're live in the Brad Sham radio booth here at AT&T Stadium. Now under 60 minutes to kick off Sunday Night Football with Baker Mayfield and the Bucs in town. Let's go to the coach's corner. Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. That's next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to...
the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
All right, if you're making your way out to AT&T Stadium tonight, you're in good hands as always, thanks to Legends Hospitality. I'll tell you the concession item of the night coming up here in just a couple of minutes, but right now it's time to throw it to the coach's corner. It's the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. Brad, go ahead and take it away, sir.
Fellas, thanks very much. The Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight with the results of the games this afternoon having had an impact on both teams. And for the Cowboys, of course, it means now mathematically you've been eliminated. What are your emotions about that?
I'm disappointed and just really trying to stay focused on winning this game tonight, and just staying in tune with, our message and our process of, trying to continue to play better football, which we've played some good ball here over the last month. But, yeah, definitely very disappointed.
Your players have responded to adversity, especially earlier in the year, in a way that would indicate that what they're made of and what you and your staff are made of will not diminish the way they play, the intensity with which they play, either tonight or in the next 2 weeks. You feel comfortable with that?
I mean, really, Brad, we're focused on winning. I mean, these philosophical questions are for another day. We had a good week. We're doing what we're supposed to do. They prepare to win tonight. So I'm just really focusing on what I need to do to help win this game.
All right, let's talk a little about the team you're playing, because they went through a similar thing. They were 4-6. They got off to a decent start, but then they were lost 4 in a row, 4-6. And they also had to regroup, just as your team did. You've had more injuries, but they now look like one of the more dangerous teams in the NFC. A lot of people think. You agree with that?
I think this is one of the better teams that we played, just based off of the last 5 weeks. I agree with you. Now, didn't spend a whole lot of time on the earlier games. Looked at those games situationally, but the way they're playing here, the last particularly last month. I think their complementary football formula is very strong. They're running it, throwing it. They're doing a decent job taking care of it. But but their defense is a challenge when you don't play them all the time, just because of the amount of pressure.
Just watching their tape from last week, really unusual game. A bigger win. The final score didn't tell you anything about how the whole football game went against the Chargers, because they were trailing at halftime. But as I was watching that game and looking at all of the different fronts and zone blitzes and pressures and things that Todd Bowles likes to throw at you, and then I thought about what you've been saying all year long about the young offensive linemen and having to adjust to the different fronts and things. Am I safe to say that your young guys who are playing now are a little more ready to handle that than they would have been earlier in the year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're first-year players. The line movement is always a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge really every year coming out of training camp. So, but yeah, we're definitely further along. We've played a lot of different combinations up front. So, and that this will be a great test. It's just like anything. That's why you play the game. The practice part of it has been clear. Everybody has a clear understanding. It's good to have Cooper Beebe back. He had a good week of practice after missing last week. Guyton had I thought probably one of his better weeks of practice. So it's good to have Chuma back too. So it's we'll be ready to go.
You mentioned a couple of names I wanted to ask you about. Beebe being back, you've been very clear about Brock Hoffman's attributes at both center and guard. I'm going to assume Cooper's going to come back in and play center tonight, but I wonder if there was any little piece of you that wondered what it would be like if Brock stayed at center and Cooper played, even though he hasn't done that since training camp.
No, just like anything, you start with the medical report, and it definitely looked like Cooper was going to be ready to go. You look at the matchups, who's going to be playing where, what fronts you think they're going to major in against us. So it's that all those things go into account of how we're going to end up lining those guys up tonight.
And you mentioned Guyton. If he's fully healthy, then is he about at the place where you need to see every snap from him that you can, and he needs to get every rep that he can?
No, we'll work both Chuma and Guyton today at left tackle.
Let's talk about some receivers. We know that Jalen Brooks is down, but you've got some young guys and some room for plays to be made on the outside there, whether it's Mingo, who hasn't really had an opportunity to get very much involved yet, or Flanoy. How can they help you?
How can they help us? I mean, just take advantage of their opportunities. Both guys are playing special teams, so they'll probably have 10 to 12 reps there during the course of the game. But just staying in the rotation, doing the little things, understanding their role and just playing at a high level. Obviously, CD and Brandon and JT, and it's just you never know exactly how the game's going to unfold. But if they do have if they do come with 65% pressure, there's definitely going to be some opportunities for a lot of one-on-ones out there. So everybody just needs to take advantage of them.
All right, last one, Rico. You mentioned Rico Dowdle. If I told you at the beginning of the year in training camp Rico Dowdle had a really good chance to have a 1,000-yard season, would that have surprised you?
No, it wouldn't, just because, the way he played last year and just a limited role. I mean, he definitely has it. I just think like a lot of things this year, things sometimes take a little longer. You like to come together, and I think once he clearly, took the opportunity to being the number one, and hopefully he can continue to grow there too. So, I still look at Rico as a young player. I think there's still an opportunity to grow. I mean, he has shown the ability to be a good pass protector in the past, and it's something he needs to continue to work on. But we never questioned his ability to run the football. And, his run style's outstanding. And, he's a good back coming out of the backfield also.
All right, Mike, appreciate the time. Good luck tonight. Fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. That'll do it for tonight's Coach's Corner, brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys, live at AT&T Stadium, getting you set for Sunday Night Football with the Bucs in town. That sounded like a coach who's dealing with the reality that his team just got bounced from the playoffs.
And tip of the cap to Brad Sham for the professionalism that he showed with the questions and stuff. Mike obviously didn't want to talk about it, and but they have to look at this whole thing as front office, coaches, players, they all have to share in this. And I think that you're disappointed, but this is the reality of it. You didn't win enough games earlier in the year. You had some bad losses. You threw away a game against Cincinnati that you should have won here. You've had some, you can be disappointed and sad, but you got to look at yourself. And, and Brad asked the question about Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle should probably have had 1,000 yards by now, if they wouldn't have sat there and determined that they had to, that they had to get make sure that they get Zeke touches in this thing. Him leaning on the running game is one of the reasons why they've had some success here, And when you put the ball in Cooper Rush's hands, throw the ball 50 times or throw it 30-something times, you're probably going to lose some games. Hand the ball to Rico Dowdle in those times, you're probably going to win football games. So, again, I admire Brad Sham. He's such a pro at the way he asked questions. That was a difficult situation because Mike McCarthy obviously didn't want to talk about it, but Mike McCarthy, he can be mad, but he needs to be mad at himself because they're in the situation they're in.
Well, Cowboys fans have something to be happy about tonight, thanks to Legends Hospitality, always bringing it strong on a Cowboys game day here at AT&T Stadium. Tonight is no different. The buffalo chicken empanadas, what a delicious, delicious item. I just crushed 3 of them in a matter of about 2 minutes. They're delicious. The flaky pastry empanadas stuffed with scrumptious buffalo chicken, drizzled with that buffalo ranch dressing, and then garnished with the green onions, available at the Southeast and Southwest Hall of Fame stands, the silver platforms, and sections 409 and 439. So make sure, if you're coming to the game tonight, do yourself a favor, capitalize on the buffalo chicken empanadas, courtesy of Legends Hospitality, and wash it down with that Pepsi Freeze. You got a little icy action. It's my favorite thing to do at the movie theater. They're bringing it to the game night here at AT&T Stadium. Pepsi Freeze, amazing holiday refreshment in the famous Pepsi Dallas Cowboys boot mug. You take it home, frozen greatness in delicious Pepsi and blue raspberry. You're going to love it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the home record might not be very good, Legends they're undefeated.
They're batting 1,000
here.
here.
They are undefeated this year for us. So thank you so much for what all they've done for us the entire season.
All right, we are now under 45 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. We will continue to get to know the enemy. We'll get the Zebra Report from the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus, and we'll go into the owner's box with Stephen Jones. That's coming up next. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Amanda Foster has been named your 2024 Pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. and by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
Under 40 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. We'll get the Zebra report for tonight's game from Bryan Broaddus coming up here in just a moment. But right now we throw things down to Christy Scales standing by with Stephen Jones.
Well, thanks, Stephen. I have to start with the fact that the Commanders did get the win today over the Eagles. And does the fact that the Cowboys are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs change anything with the approach
doesn't
tonight?
Change anything. We've gotten prepared all week to go out and beat the Buccaneers. And fired up about our preparation all week. We're totally focused on winning football games. And, our guys have done a really good job this past month. I think really coming around, getting some guys back, but also some young guys are stepping up and playing at a real high level as well. I know, obviously Tampa's got some really good football players. I've always admired Baker Mayfield and what he's done, as a competitor in college and the NFL. I think so much of him, but, we'll have our hands full. They're still in it, and they're playing to improve themselves, but I think we'll go out and play really good football tonight, and I think we've got a great chance to win this game.
Well, Stephen, with that Tampa offense, Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans and Bucky Irving, I know the task got more difficult because Eric Kendricks, your starting middle linebacker, a game day decision today with a calf injury, but more opportunity for Maris Liufau, who had already stepped up in place of DeMarvion Overshown. Could you talk about what you want to see from Maris these final 3 games and the plans for him moving forward?
Well, I think just what we saw last week. I mean, he stepped up doing some work for Overshown as well. And, he's running around making plays on the ball. He got the ball out, and we got a big turnover the other day against Carolina. Just want to see him do more of the same. Go run, hit, make plays on the ball, and I think he'll be ready for that.
Also at linebacker, we're going to see more tonight of number 41, Nick Vigil. No, it's not Charlie Waters, number 41. He didn't come out of retirement. It's Nick Vigil, but he's one of these core veteran guys. And I guess you guys had brought him in of the experience he had with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota and also in Cincinnati. So what has he meant as a role player tonight, and what do you expect with the extended opportunities he'll have on defense?
Well, as you said, he knows Mike's system well, and he's just one of those guys who's a veteran player who knows how to play the game. He'll go in there and make sure all the trains are running on time. They won't miss a beat from that standpoint. But fully expect him to go out there and play well. Probably won't get as much special teams work as he's been getting because he's played at a high level there for us on special teams. But, we've got some backers that I think will step up and play well on special teams. We elevated Harris tonight. You got Buddy Johnson, a good crew of backers there that'll step up and play well.
Let's switch to the other side of the ball with the Cowboys offense with Rico Dowdle only needing 120 yards to reach 1,000 for the season. I was just talking with Emmitt Smith about that and pointing out that Rico would be the first undrafted Dallas Cowboy running back to do so. So I know you feel proud of him and for him.
Well, he's just done a great job. And once we got our team in the right situation where we could commit to run the ball, keep these games close, we've done a great job running it. Certainly he's a big part of it, but he's also the first to say the offensive line's doing a great job creating holes for him, doing the things that he needs to be successful running it. If I were a betting man, I'd bet on Rico that he's going to get what he needs to get done, and it may just come tonight.
Hey, you heard it here first in the owner's box. Thanks so much, Stephen. That's Stephen Jones. As we continue counting down to Bucs Cowboys kickoff in prime time, let's rejoin Bryan and Eric.
Thank you, Christy. Tonight's Owner's Box brought to you by Yeti, the official cooler of the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders for those keeping score at home. Yes, the Cowboys have been eliminated from postseason play, and now you look at the draft order. Right now, before kickoff, Cowboys picking at 12 overall.
There you go.
If they lose this game, they will jump San Francisco thanks to the tiebreaker with San Francisco beating them earlier this year, and the Cowboys with a loss will be picking at number 11. So I'm not sure exactly how much they'll move up in the
What's the strength of schedule? I mean, are you looking at Tankathon right now?
Yeah, strength of schedule right now for the Cowboys is just above 500.
Okay, and San Francisco's strength of schedule is better,
just under 600.
Okay,
but
you need a loss to
yeah.
I got
you. You lose tonight, you pick 11. You win tonight, I don't know. You're probably picking in that 15-16 range. So now the Raiders won a game today that Raiders fans are ticked about. They beat the Jags, and now the Raiders go from picking number 2 overall to now picking number 6. That's how you play your way out of a quarterback opportunity there in the draft. Okay, without further ado, let's throw things over to the Super Bowl winning scout Bryan Broaddus for tonight's Zebra Report, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate that. Land Clark is your official. He's got the unusual first name of Land, L-A-N-D.
That's a one of one.
That's a one of one right there. But Land Clark, he has officiated 14 games in 2024. The Cowboys have yet to have Land Clark as an official. He was working with the Cowboys, though, at training camp. He was, when they travel around, he was an official that him and his crew were part of the training camp practices. So they're very familiar with him. Things you need to worry about here: offensive holding is a prevalent penalty for them. Defensive pass interference is another one. Here's the one I want to focus on a little bit: the illegal formation. That's where we seem to get with the offensive linemen, that they get too deep in the backfield. It's happened to Guyton a couple of different times. Could it happen, too, with Adoga? Just got to be wary of that, or aware of that, that maybe that the legal formation. Make sure you're up on the ball, because this crew will call it. Unnecessary roughness is next. Delay of game. Here we have another clock watching program here with these officials. So that's something. And then the last one is in 14 games, 6 calls of roughing the passer. Micah, everybody needs to be a little bit careful being around these quarterbacks, but that's your Zebra Report for the day.
I love it, thank you. And week in, week out, it just proves true. Every game, you say what to watch out for, and then by quarter number 1 being over, you're going, wow, we saw basically all of those penalties right there. So appreciate that as always.
Yes,
you mentioned Micah and having to be careful. I wanted to get these numbers in. I saw this from Robert Mays of The Athletic. This is pretty unbelievable. And Micah versus the Bucs O-line tonight is going to be just an outstanding matchup, because the Bucs are strong there. But first and foremost, Micah is one of 4 players with a 19% pressure rate this year. It's Danielle Hunter, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, and Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
that's your Mount Rushmore right there. Now, Micah has the best third down pressure rate in the league.
True.
You just cannot stop him. Obvious passing situations, Micah's coming after you. Now, the big thing here is the on-off splits. Without Micah Parsons this year, the Cowboys' defense is 11-2 with the touchdown-interception ratio. You're giving up way more touchdowns than you're getting interceptions. You're giving up a 116 quarterback rating. You're giving almost 9 yards per attempt, and a success rate to quarterbacks when they're dropping back to pass, 49%. Now, 49% success rate is what Josh Allen is doing this year. Okay, he's having an MVP season, and when Micah's not on the field, the Cowboys are basically allowing these quarterbacks on their dropbacks to be as successful as Josh Allen this year. Okay, now when he's on the field, you have a 10-10 touchdown interception ratio. Quarterback rating is only 86, and the success rate drops to 40% on quarterback dropbacks. 40% success rate, that's Daniel Jones stuff. So when he's on the field, they make the quarterback play like Daniel Jones. When he's off the field, they make the quarterback play like the MVP Josh Allen. I mean, it is ridiculous the amount of impact and the disruption that he brings to the table. And tonight's matchup is going to be huge.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And those are some outstanding nuggets, which you also, if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, he's generated pressures that you mentioned, like 28% of the third down pass rushes this season. That's the highest rate in the NFL. And Parsons has averaged like 22 pressures, 4 sacks on third down, with his average time to pressure decreasing from 2.87 seconds on early downs to 2.49 on third down. So he's got to recharge in the batteries on some of the early downs, but when it comes to that third down, he's bringing it off the ball.
Yeah, he's playing like an absolute monster right now. All right, it's the pregame show here live at AT&T Stadium in the Brad Sham radio booth. Under 30 minutes to kick off with the Bucs in town. And let's go ahead and hang out with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, inside the booth with Brad. Coming up next, you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
One of the main reasons for poor vehicle performance is a dirty fuel system. It can cause decreased fuel economy and actually do harm to your engine over time. By adding Lucas Fuel Treatment to your vehicle,
the official personal injury attorney sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Principal office, Dallas, Texas.
And they looked it up.
All right, we're live in the Brad Sham radio booth here at AT&T Stadium. Just over 20 minutes to kick off Sunday Night Football with the Bucs in town. We welcome in Brad Sham, brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. And Brad, really enjoyed the way you handled the conversation with McCarthy earlier.
Yes.
That sounded like a guy who just had his postseason hopes dashed.
Well, it sounded to me like a guy whose dog and horse both got shot.
Yeah.
I was stunned because we all have. You can look at what has to happen. We've been doing it for weeks.
They were clinging on to that 1%.
And so it's 1%, but they had to win out. Philly had to lose out several things. So it was not going to happen. And he was, and thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
But I was bowled over by how downcast he was. He was focused on we're still in this and we're going to, and now they're not. And so I'm going to be really interested to see how they play tonight. I don't know if he normally talks to the team in the locker room right before they go out.
Yeah.
And if he does, he better be a good actor.
Yeah, you're a pro's pro. There was no doubt. You pivoted very well in that, and you've always taught us about asking the right questions and asking questions. But I'm interested. This team is playing hard, I think, because there are young players that don't have.
I heard you say that before, and of course there is a great deal of truth to that. And at the same time, when they've been where they've been throughout this year, and they have climbed back into it,
right?
Coaching staff's got something to do with that.
I listen, I want to give a tip of the cap, but I'm just going to say if you base everything on, they're playing hard for him, and that's why, we're going to talk about him coming back.
What? It's not that they're playing hard for him.
Yeah.
It is that he has gotten them to keep on putting the nose to the grind. So
sure.
He's the one who has to direct that. It's not that they're doing it for him.
Right.
As you well know, you played, you do it for the guy next to you.
You do it for the guy next to you. Right.
But he's got to be the one who sets the tone and gets them going. That's why I'm interested in how they play tonight and the next 2 weeks.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, this is now a pretty tough stretch to close it down. The Bucs, quality opponent. You get the Eagles, the Commanders. I like it because you get to see all these guys that have been steadily improving, all these undrafted young guys that are fighting for their jobs. Now you get real tests with these Bucs, the Eagles, and the Commanders. What do you see from the Bucs, though, that impresses you?
Oh, my gosh. Well, the number one thing is, and I've known Todd Bowles for a long time, but their front seven, the things they do to challenge not just the quarterback's read, but the offensive line. Remember, McCarthy's talked from the beginning of the year about, our young offensive line, and they're seeing things, but the communication to the other linemen has not. They will put 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. They will rush 7 guys, but not those 7.
Yeah,
right.
They'll drop defensive ends into zone. They do more zone blitzing than most teams. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Unique blitzes that come from everywhere.
Yeah.
Vita Vea was drafted the year the draft was here. And I remember that because I was sitting in the stands and I looked at it and I said, oh, God, I wish the Cowboys could get him.
Yeah.
And they took him 12th, and the Cowboys were a little bit lower, and they took Van Der Esch, which was a great pick. But Vita Vea is a beast, and he just disrupts things. Now, their secondary's average. Mm-hmm. They're missing a couple of guys, but you got to get through the front 7 to get to the secondary, and that's going to be a challenge. Beebe will be back at center tonight. Hoffman will move back over to right guard. Adoga will start at left tackle. Guyton will work in.
What do you think about that?
Well, I asked him. You heard me ask him about Guyton. To me, now, you can't change. I saw a couple of tweets about once they were eliminated, Trey Lance should play tonight. Get real.
No.
They haven't practiced that way all week.
No.
This happened Sunday afternoon. Show some knowledge. Now, if you want to change the approach the next 2 weeks,
sure,
that's a different story. But your question is to me about Guyton. I want Guyton taking every available snap. Just me. I don't know I understand why if you thought Udoka was going to help you win more right now when you're still mathematically in the race, then you start him, and we're going to see them both play. But I think it's and when I asked McCarthy that, he was almost insulted that I would ask him. But I think it's time for Guyton to play as many snaps as possible. But as you guys have talked about for weeks, there aren't any other young guys to play.
No,
they've been playing them.
That's what I'm saying. If you're interested in young guy football, you saw it in 2024 for the Dallas Cowboys.
The only other thing I could say is I would like to see what Mingo and Flanoy have as receivers.
Yeah, agreed.
Because Brooks is down.
Yeah.
I think we kind of have a book on Tolbert. Over the last 3 games, I'd like to know a little something more about those guys. Other than that, I've got no idea.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the time, Brad.
You bet. Happy to have you boys up here. What'd they bring you there?
Oh, dude, those are the buffalo chicken empanadas. Hey, that's a 10 out of 10 must try. Right there.
These Legends people now they're serious.
They're not messing around.
Their home game is outstanding.
Merry Christmas, fellas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Brad.
Happy Hanukkah.
Enjoy the game. We'll be listening. All right, before we throw things down to Christy Scales and get her keys to the game, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
All right, now it's time for Christy Scales' keys to the game, brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy, what do you know about this linebacker situation? The Eric Kendricks stuff threw us for a loop tonight.
Yes, it was a game day decision. It went up just to 90 minutes before kick with that calf injury. He is inactive tonight, and of course your starting middle linebacker. He's played 88% of snaps this year, and of course you've been without DeMarvion Overshown, so a lot of shuffling at linebacker. Certainly we'll see a lot more of Maris Leofau just as he's had to fill in for Overshown. But at middle linebacker tonight, expect to see a lot of number 41, Nick Vigil. Now this is a guy who's a veteran. He's a 9-year guy. He's only played like 5% of defensive snaps this year, but he has a lot of time in Mike Zimmer and Paul Gunther's system. Played a lot for Zimmer and Gunther in Minnesota and in Cincinnati, and this is a guy with over 100 games in his NFL career, and 53 of those were starts. So it'll be good because he'll be able to take over the Kendricks role in terms of making sure that in terms of recognition and the communication. That being said, this is a big night for Maris Leofau. He and Vigil will probably be out there as in the nickel situations. Don't be surprised if we see a lot more of Damone Clark than we've seen over the last couple months. Clark will get time tonight. And then, of course, they elevated from the practice squad Darius Harris, and then Buddy Johnson, who's been mainly special teams. He'll get some work tonight, too. So it's going to be tough going against this Bucs offense because they've got so many weapons, and Baker Mayfield on a hot streak, and 2 good running backs with Irving and White. But guys, I think the focus tonight, strength versus strength in terms of third down conversions. Tampa's offense is 3rd best in the NFL at converting third downs, almost 50%. The Cowboys defense tied for 2nd best on third down. They allow just 34%. So can the Cowboys defense keep the Bucs from sustaining drives tonight? To do that, they're going to have to stop that run game with Irving and White. And that's going to be hard to do when you don't have your starting middle linebacker, who's been the key to most of the success, what they have had in the run game so far this year.
Christy, you're the best. We appreciate all the knowledge, the information, and the time. Enjoy the game. We'll be listening.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes, Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter. And now, Broaddus, it's on us. Prediction time. Give me the Bucs 30, Cowboys 20. I think it's going to be a healthy helping of Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. I think this is a comeback-to-earth game for the Cowboys' run defense, especially with no Eric Kendricks.
Yeah.
And then what Baker Mayfield and company can do, the blitz packages, Cooper Rush in the spin cycle. 30-20 Bucs win.
Yeah, I tell you what, I like what you did there. I've been on a lot of platforms all week, and I've always said 28-20 Buccaneers here. I think there's going to be some problems. I think the blitz packages you mentioned, the linebacker blitzes, the secondary blitzes, if all of a sudden Dallas can't run the football and it turns into Cooper Rush having to drop back 30 times, this thing could get ugly.
Yeah, this is a Buccaneers team that really desperately needs this win for their postseason hopes. And, of course, the Cowboys had their postseason hopes dashed today thanks to the Commanders beating the Eagles. So just a tale of two different teams right now colliding on Sunday Night Football. And let's go ahead and get you to kickoff. It's right around the corner. Brad, Babe, and Christy got you the rest of the way. Make sure you stick around for the halftime and postgame show with Brian Broaddus and Zach Wolchuk. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Tom Thumb's new Drive Up and Go service makes grocery shopping easy and convenient for any.